Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Unified Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier here. We are ready, getting into our semi-finals here to figure out who is going to be punching their ticket into the finals for tomorrow. My name is Travesty. I am joined here with my analyst, Smats, and we got some special guests here. We got Vacant coming in here straight out the jungle roll, ready to give us the hard-hitting analysis. And we also have a returning guest, Qualifier. Gentlemen, it's looking fantastic. Smats, how are you feeling? Let's start with you. We're going to go down the line here.
Yeah, I'm good. You know, it's been a long week. We had a lock-in finish up, another week of Academy. So, I mean, I had some stuff to do between the last week and now, but I was just waiting to see who was going to make it to the finals. And then tomorrow we get to see who's actually going to win the whole thing for this qualifier, to see who's got the front-runner bonus for Proving Grounds. I think it's going to be a really exciting week.
Are you sharing that excitement, Bacon? How are you feeling going in?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited to be here. We got some great series lined up for today. Definitely going to be exciting to see how both these play out in these BO3s. And then I'll actually even be more excited than to watch the finals to see the two competing off after today's wins.
Qualifier, are you still bringing that wholesome energy? That's what I need to know right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best today. We'll see. We'll see exactly how these matchups are gonna play. We got some analysis ready for that, obviously. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. I do personally believe that these early tournaments at the very beginning of the season are always the most chaotic and the most fun, and it feels really like anything can happen before the top teams settle into their positions and start just beating everyone consistently, and you can tell who's gonna win just by their ranking, right? So I'm definitely looking forward to these games.
Sounds like you might have a little bit of history with the chaos there, Qualifier. It's a little personal. Going into this, I want to go ahead and throw it over to our bracket before we start talking about the teams and look at how their journey got here. As we see everything going across, we have 100 Thieves Nets and Winthrop here for our first series. Afterwards, Golden Guardians Academy and Immortals. And you can see all these teams are very much so stacked, and what a phenomenal road, and it looks like it was a very hard journey for a lot of these teams, especially.
Yeah. I don't want to take anything away from Winthrop, but to say that this is like what we expected is completely against what everyone thought was going to happen from the get-go. Winthrop making it the top 4 is such a huge accomplishment for them. You just got to hear Grapes talk about it in the Fruit for Thought as well. They were 14th seed in the overall group stage of the tournament out of 16 teams, so to make it all the way up here is a really, really big feat. Everyone else, 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians, and Immortals, I believe, were 1 through 3, correct? Or maybe they were 1 through 4. Either way, not too surprising that they're here. All LCS-backed teams, even one of them Academy. So for Winthrop making it all the way to this is already a feat. It's going to be a fun series for them.
Sounds fun. I'm excited for fun. I like fun. Bacon, when it comes down to fun, are you feeling the fun? Are you feeling that positive energy? Is it vibing through you right now? Are you in that believer's court right now?
I mean, for today's games, I'd say absolutely. We're gonna have like a lot of fun games here. I definitely think one of the matchups is probably more even than the other, but I'd be surprised to say if like these were boring games.
Excitement is on everybody's mind here as we have these matchups here in front of us for today. As you can see, yet again, as we were talking about, 100 Thieves Nets, Winthrop are going to be our first matchup on the day. The matchup that I don't think many people would have saw coming, like Smats was alluding to before. And then on the other side, Golden Guardians Academy taking on Immortals AOE. So like you said, the fun is here all day long on the Academy channel. Qualifier, you're no stranger to success in terms of these events. Maybe more so, not at the very beginning, but you've been able to do some fun stuff inside of it. You've made yourself into the finals. How is the semifinals weighing on these teams here? Is this a nervous moment for these teams leading up into the moment?
I think it really is, going back to, this is the very first big tournament for these Proving Grounds qualifiers. And there's a lot riding on it, it's momentum for the rest of your season, for, like we said, Winthrop, it's great that they've got here. Imagine how amazing it would be if they were able to defeat the tournament favorites, 100 Thieves Next, and keep moving on. And, from the reverse side, 100 Thieves Next they're here to say, this is our tournament. This is our Proving Grounds. We are the best team here. We're going to continue to prove we're the best team here. But you have to start by winning the first tournament in order to be able to prove that, right? So there's definitely a lot riding on it, especially on this first matchup, even on the second matchup too, right? Golden Guardians Academy trying to prove, we're an academy team here playing with these amateur teams. We got to prove how good we are. And same thing, Immortals AoE being another LCS backdoor, looking to prove themselves. So it's definitely going to be super exciting. Definitely a lot of pressure on these teams. But right now, I'm pretty sure all they're thinking about is just making it to finals. So.
And I mean, notably as well with how the Proving Grounds structure works, just placing higher and higher in the tournament does matter quite a bit for qualifying for Proving Grounds at the end of spring. So I believe getting all the way up to semis is already putting yourselves well ahead of the pack. There are only 2 qualifying tournaments, so getting to here already is a really, really big deal. If they can get even further, then it's only going to do more to solidify them making it all the way.
And a player whose stocks have been rising to infinity and beyond in that regard has been General Sniper. And we want to go ahead and take a moment to look at this top lane matchup here. Bacon, I've heard that you've been a bit of a stan here, liking their Sniper matchup here. We do have a little bit of a mitts up on the EGP over there. That is not the person that they're going against here, but we are going to see Sniper inside of this matchup and see exactly what they have in store for us.
That's General Sniper's my boy. Like, I'd coach that man back to his first Twitch Rivals win. Like, he's just going to take 100 Thieves Next all the way. I don't even think it's going to be, like, a matter of looking much more else than through top lane in this series.
I have to,
proven. Yeah.
I have to ask, what's the Vacant coaching look like? Is it like Rocky?
I got people on straight regimens, man. They're waking up at 6 a.m. They're going on their daily jogs. They're climbing up the stairs. Like they're on the full Rocky grind.
Okay, they're going
very athletic training.
Yeah. Hey, healthy.
Hey, healthy body, healthy mind.
Yeah, nice. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. And hey, look, we got some healthy players over here, and somebody who's been very impressive on the other side of this. You've got to look at the competition for 100 Thieves Sniper here. You've got my bud over here in the top side of the match, who has been making a good name for himself as well over inside of the top lane. Qualifier, how are you put bud into this?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at these stats, you might be like, oh, well, Sniper's just ahead in everything. He's just going to be the better player. He's going to smurf it. And, that might be the case. But Mabud has really solid stats here. Sniper is played to a lot, which is why he has an incredibly high KP. But Mabud also has an incredibly high KP for a top laner. Their damage per number stats aren't that different. And, the CS per minute, I must admit, Sniper is kind of going crazy over there with 9 CS per minute. But even, but Mabud, still managing to have these high CS per minute when, they've had some tough matchups. They've had a tougher road to get here. It's definitely, like, you can tell that, one team, one player definitely has the slight edge here. But it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm as much of a fan of Sniper as anybody else. I got to play with his brother, Viper, right, last year. So definitely going to be rooting for him. But, it's always exciting when you have, like, these big upcoming players, right? Like, they got to show off against everybody, right? Like, yeah. Sniper, I'm sure Sniper wants to play against, the best of the best. But you got to be able to play against, the players like Mabud here, who's also trying to prove himself, so.
I feel like there might be a slight bit of bias that I'm starting to hear here. I got the coach and I got the friend of the brother over here on my desk.
What, Travis? Mabud has been playing tanks, so that's probably why his numbers are a little bit lower. Because Sniper hasn't played a single tank yet. We gotta throw Mabud a little bit of a bone there.
And you gotta take that into account, though, of like how important it is to be able to play like an anchor role, especially against a player that's played to, right? Like if you think about it, it's gonna be pretty on Mabud to actually be able to anchor down top lane against a player like Sniper and make sure that they don't get to take away the series through him. So it'll be pretty impressive to see how the stats pan out.
And it could be something that really vets him. As I want to throw it over to a very interesting graphic where we have Winthrop, the team who has a player who can confuse you when they lock in a champion named Vets. We got Array taking on Vets here, which Array's KDA immediately scares me. But Smats, how are you feeling on this?
So it's no secret that Array's been smurfing it this year and last year as well. He was the main carry for us by the end for Resolve, his previous team, where he also did play with Fnatic, the jungler currently for 100 Thieves Next. Array, his KDA speaks for itself there. He's been doing a phenomenal job, and he has been holding it down. Not the main carry on this team, as we already mentioned Sniper, but still a very solid one on the squad too. Vex, on the other hand, has been playing things like the Ezreal and the Jhin. Not really the main carry on his team either, but you can see the difference in the damage, and you can see a lot of promise in the way that Vex is playing from the eye test as well. If you watch these games, his skill shot accuracy is top-notch, and he's playing these team fights really well from a utility role. I've been very pleasantly surprised by Vex's improvement specifically, and stepping in to the shoes of Saskia, the previous AD carry for this team. It's a really big jump. So for Vex to be able to do that and bring this team to this big level of success is really impressive.
Do you think that this might be Array being a bit of a KDA player though? Because you said it. Hey, look, you said it. They play in similar champions, Mats. Hold on.
Maybe he's in these situations where Sniper is usually the target from everyone's attention, early game and in the team fights as well. He's playing these fighters, so I think that definitely has something to do with it. But you can't really blame the guy for not dying very often. That's a good thing for an AD carry, right? So.
Yeah. Qualifier, you bring the wholesome energy. How are you feeling? You saw that graphic. You see Vets. You see this young talent coming up through the collegiate scene. He's going against Array, somebody who you've seen and competed so many times. You've seen this person so many different times. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so when I first saw that graphic, obviously, right, like KDA did jump out to me. I was like, wow, Ray's got this huge KDA. But then it did remind me of, Value, who I was playing with last year, right? Again, we would play towards top all the time. He would get placed on more of these chill picks, and then he would just pick up like 15 assists in a game and die 0 times, and his KDA would be infinite, right? Whereas you look at a player like Vex, his KDA is a bit lower, but his damage per minute is so insanely high. Like anything above 600 is pretty incredible. And so I'm really going to be looking forward to see if he can continue to push that and maybe sort of force Array out of that just comfort zone where he's just sitting back and, just having a chill time. And I think that could be one of Winthrop's main win conditions in this series.
And it could be very fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly what the idea could be here. We have the rosters here to see the rest of the lineup vacant. Are you looking at something in particular inside of this? Is there somebody else inside of this? We've seen 2 graphics. Is there a player that you're keeping your eye out, a role in particular?
I'd say probably draw some attention towards the mid lane matchup in particular. Seeing Insanity as such a veteran player with a lot of experience against Ivana, who's definitely can hold his own, but definitely less experience as a whole. It's going to be interesting to see how both teams are able to play through mid to then control the rest of the map, and I think it's definitely on 100 Thieves' edge to secure that pressure and then use that to influence the matchups we just talked about. Right, we got to think about the matchups outside of just the one-on-one between the players and more dissect about how the teams are actually going to be looked at playing the map and distributing those resources.
And, for me, personally, I'm going to throw my opinion out there. Keep my eyes in the jungle, because Mordio has been putting everybody on their behind with his Kha'Zix. All right, I got to give a big shout-out to that, because assassin junglers have been something that have been very interesting. I want to bring up an interesting statistic inside of this. 100 Thieves Nets, the only time that they have lost a game inside of this entire thing, not a series, they are undefeated in series still, but they lost one game against Team Ambition as soon as it went into group stage to the assassin jungle chaos that was going on. Do you think that might be an edge that Winthrop might be looking to utilize here? Smats.
That's definitely something to keep in mind. Winthrop has a lot of weird comfort pick champions in jungle and mid lane as well. Ivano's playing some assassins like the Echo a lot. So it's going to be on 100 Thieves to try to ban out all the ones that they think are really big problems. And because you only get 3 bans in the first phase, you have to come with strategies to defeat the ones that are unbanned. And that's going to be something that's going to be really difficult, because when we saw the matchup last week where Winthrop beat Wildcard, they actually did have significantly better drafts than Wildcard, in my opinion. I think they were actually doing a really good job in that series of getting the upper hand before the game even began. Something the 100 Thieves also have to look out for. It's going to be a really fun draft compared to a lot of the other series that we've seen so far. I think this one's the most important.
I'd agree with that. I definitely say it's probably going to be more on Winthrop to find that niche in a draft to give them an edge over 100 Thieves, whereas 100 Thieves are going to be a lot more like core to tried and true to what their stride is. So it's going to be interesting to see how they look to outplay them in a draft situation.
Well, gentlemen, we need to talk about something very dear to my heart. It's my favorite. It's time to look at the caster predictions here. I want to see exactly what these players have. I already have it. Look at Eric over there with the Winthrop. His heart is thropping over there.
God damn. There's a stacked, definitely on the very edge there.
Yeah.
An outlier to say the least.
Okay, the most important thing to me is to see who can actually win from here, because we only have 3 series left. Obviously, Orbital is in the lead. RMC is right on his tail, though. So if RMC ends up getting the Immortals prediction right, they'll be tied. Assuming the 100 of these win, of course. Actually, you know what? They'll be tied anyway, because they'll both gotten that one wrong. So
Yeah.
that's going to be an interesting one. DJ can't get ahead of Orbital because they predicted the same thing. I think RMC is the only one who has a chance to pull up into first place as well from this. So that'll be one to watch out for him.
So I'm going to ask my desk real quick. Is your heart throbbing or has it been stolen here?
I'm going 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves are going to probably 2-0 today and 3-0 tomorrow. Those guys look really good. So I'm going.
We don't even know who they're going against yet, Matt.
I know. I'll stick to it tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I think I said to bet something similar to that. Not gonna lie, I think 100 Thieves should easily be able to close out today's series. And then, hey, I'm gonna ride that momentum into tomorrow, bro. If they smurf it today, they're gonna smurf it tomorrow.
Qualifier, are you in agreement with this?
I think I got a lot of respect for Insanity. I have a lot of respect for Sniper, for Fnatic. These players who I've seen forever and played with and against for so many years. I definitely have to go with 100 Thieves next. I do think this series is like a very important like bellwether for how the matches tomorrow will be going. I think if they can really show up, have 2 quick, clean games, then yeah, I'm pretty confident they'll be able to 3-0 whoever they face tomorrow. But if there's even a little bit of problems here or there, if Winthrop is able to, find some chinks in the armor, then I think the series tomorrow, even if 100 Thieves Next still does win, could be super exciting.
Okay, well, 100 Thieves Next, they might need to rebrand to Phantom Thieves because they're still in everybody's hearts, it sounds like here. That being said, who's got your heart stolen? Let us know on Twitter. You can use #WeAreUnified. Let us know who your player to watch out for inside this series is. Do you share the sentiment that Thieves are just going to run everything from today to tomorrow? Or are you looking to see who the spoiler is? Let us know. Let us know with using #WeAreUnified or #drops out, whichever one you prefer, to let us know what your prediction is. But with that being said, I believe, gentlemen, we are ready to get into our first game inside this series. We've got Winthrop, we got 100 Thieves Next, we got our broadcast crew ready to go. Take it on away.
Thank you so much, Travesty. Oh my God, Beatdown, we're doing it again. And not only are we doing it again, but it's the playoffs, baby, right? This is what we've been preparing for, and we're setting the stage for what we're going to see tomorrow. So I'm going to be your play-by-play, Jolly, and joined by the wonderful, I think I got it this time. Dang it. This way.
It's always the opposite way. You gotta see. I just did it now. You have to do this.
My brain just it opposites the opposite. So Beatdown, how are we feeling today? We're starting off with a banger match, man.
Really excited for this one. Winthrop definitely, I think Smack said on the desk, surprising us with the result. It's welcome nonetheless, and now we're going to see how they look going against 100 Next, one of the favorites of the whole tournament, Jolly. And the thing that's most interesting too, I think Qualifier talked about it, this is going to be very telling for 100 Thieves, who are, I mean, let's be honest, they're kind of the favorites going into today, and if they actually can perform very well, then it will kind of give us that idea about whether or not they'll actually be able to face whoever is the winner of GGA and IMT later on. It's going to be GGA, just saying.
All right. Well, we already saw your predictions, Beatdown. Okay, we already
exactly
decided with, and we also know that you and I made the same predictions for the day. That is the case for a lot of the casters, a lot of people on the desk here. But you know what? Starting off pretty standard with these bans, we're looking at the Corki and the Victor and the Xin Zhao, of course, trying to get Insanity off of some of these comfort picks, and not just comfort picks, but incredibly strong ones that really have very few counters. And all right, All right, we've seen this once before, Beatdown. I think we saw this last week, the Lulu first pick. Did it work out?
It's tough. See, like
it did not work out.
Yeah, look, we literally talked about this going into this series, like 1 minute
30
ago.
seconds ago, yeah.
Yeah, no cap. Because I was saying how I would rather have seen Kenji, especially with the Thresh being up. I would much rather have them first pick that, just because we're already seeing it. Donbray on the Nautilus. The dude's been playing it all tournament. He's making it look insane. And you sacrifice a lot of, one, laning power, two, early game agency by putting Kenji on something like the Lulu. He's not going to be able to do much in this early game. That's going to be a problem when you look at 100 Next and how they play these first few minutes of the game. You have Fnatic, insane when he's playing things like the Xin Zhao, the Trundle, Lee Sin, whatever is helping his team in the early game. And Donbray is really good at moving around the map in the early minutes as well, having that impact. So Winthrop already going to be in a little bit tougher of a spot, I think, with the draft that they're going for here. They can play it well, and Lulu is going to be really nice later on into the game because, path growth, shielding, that's all nice and good, but we got to get there.
All right, the Lee Sin is great, right? We've been seeing a little bit less of that, a little bit more focus on things like the Jarvan, like the Xin Zhao, like the Viego that has been locked in here, because you've got early game viability and also potentially playing from behind late game viability, which I think is really, really important in the current meta, because we do know that Fnatic is going to be engaging the second he hits level 3. He just has to decide kind of who he wants to put some pressure on. And as was talked about in the pre-show, their sniper is probably the one that Winthrop is going to want to shut down early on. It puts a lot of pressure onto Mabud up there in the top side. And this is already, just a very comfortable setup that we're seeing here for 100 Thieves that they've locked in. Getting a Ray on someone really powerful, really strong in the meta right now. Jinx absolutely provides that. Getting Donbray on what we've seen him honestly play most and most successfully on throughout this tournament is the Nautilus. So you're absolutely right, Beatdown. Not only were we talking about Enchantresses probably not working out super well, but we know how difficult it is for Lulu in the early parts. And if Lulu gets shut down, sure, she's still a utility bot, but she needs to get in very close to utilize that. And so it's kind of scary just, anticipating how this early game might go if there's a little bit of early pressure coming from 100 Thieves, which we absolutely expect.
Yeah, and it's tough too because you get 100 Thieves doing a really good job taking away these mid lane options for Ivano that would pair really well for the Lee Sin, allow them to have more of an impact in the early game. Strong mid jungle 2v2 is what I wanted from Winthrop, and it was a point that I was going to go towards, but it's tough. You're running out of options now because of what 100 Thieves have managed to pinch away. And on Winthrop's side, it makes sense, like you said, they want to alleviate as much pressure as possible. Top lane, you imagine Sniper's going to get that last pick on 100 Next side, so you just want to get rid of anything that might, one, ruin Mabud in lane and out of it as well. The Twisted Fate for Insanity is a really nice pick as well, just because we talk about playmaking. As soon as you get that Destiny at level 6, this dude's going to be all over the map. And when you think about what's left for the setup, like maybe we'll see Winthrop go Silas just to be able to match those roams, kind of give a bit of dive and engage for that Lee Sin, because that's also something they're startily lacking in, and you have to imagine what's going to be left for them on the top side of the map too. Maybe they could give Mabud something like, I was thinking Camille. I think Tom Kench is okay as well, and we'll see if they actually want to give Ivano that Silas.
Yeah, Tom Kench is, when you're looking at anticipating counter picks from somebody like Sniper, Tom Kench is one of the safer options, right? He's got a lot of survivability. You have the Abyssal Dive. You have some ways to navigate throughout the map, as well as, utilizing that teleport as early on as possible, because we know that Sniper is absolutely known for that, and including the Destiny's Gate, including the fact that we know that Donbray is a massive roamer in the early parts of things, and that Array is also more than capable of, just kind of hanging down in the bottom lane, even when there's a lot of pressure, particularly when there's a lot of pressure, to be honest. And yes, the Silas is going to be the lock-in here. We've seen it do well into the Twisted Fate in the past. There's a lot of great ultimates as well that we can see are on the side of 100 Thieves that Ivano is going to have access to. But, it's still the early parts of this game that are kind of worrisome for me, at least for Winthrop's selection. I like the survivability that they add to the top side, but other than that, they have initiation, not nearly as much, especially with the Akali lock-in, not nearly as much engage and initiation as you got on her Thieves, at least in terms of like a safe sense, right? Something that you can navigate away from if you need to. Yeah,
when you think about what Winthrop have in terms of CC, sure, you give yourself a pretty solid frontliner with the Tom Kench, with how tanky he's going to be, but if you look at the rest of here, not very much hard CC. I think it actually sets up this Akali pick for Sniper very well. He can go in, especially with this tank build that's still going to be good since we're on 12. 2.1, it means that, I mean, for the most part, Sniper is going to be just fine jumping into the middle of these team fights, being able to do a lot of work. I believe it was 2 weeks ago where we saw Sniper play the Akali, and Jolly, he did some not okay things, some nasty things.
Yes. I mean, we saw some of the replays. I think maybe it was, I don't know if it was during the interview. I think maybe it was during Fruit for Thought by Grapes. We saw a couple of those plays coming out of Sniper on the Akali. I mean, including every single member of the team trying to get in it. It wasn't until you got a pinch by the last 2 surviving members where Sniper was invading the enemy jungle to continue to chase out the enemy and got 3 kills within that, right? A double kill up in the top. Now against the enemy jungle, sure ends up dying, but Sniper's totally okay with that because his KD also, I mean, I think we saw the stats in that as well. I mean, his KD is absolutely insane from start to finish of the game. So even if he puts himself in dangerous positions, it's when he's way, way far ahead already. And the rest of the team's like, go ahead, unleash yourself, Sniper. Do what you want to do. If you die, we'll come back after your gray screen. If not, excellent. That's what we anticipate to come out of a player like you. So, man, I really like what 100 Thieves is drafting into this. We have seen so much of this exact same setup work so well for them. On the other side with Winthrop, I'm a little shaky. I'm not going to lie here, Beatdown.
I mean, I'd be shaking too if I was a fan of Winthrop, if I voted for their win. I don't think anyone on the broadcast desk ended up going for that. Yeah. But I mean, it's tough too when you look at this draft. I think because especially with that Enchanter pick going for Kenji on that bot side of the map, a lot of pressure is going to be on Mordio in the earlier parts of the game. I mean, like, where are you realistically going? Who else is going to have this early game power? Vano definitely needs some levels on the Silas, needs some ability haste so that you can get that Kingslayer on a lower cooldown. All of your cooldowns just a bit lower so you can actually have some of these extended fights. So for Mordio, that early jungle pathing is going to be paramount, and he's going to need to make magic happen, honestly. I mean, even though you have range and some solid damage in the later parts of the game with someone like Vex, I mean, if you fall behind, it's just going to feel so impossible with Akali jumping the back line and no one able to peel for Vex. Even with that arcane shift, it is still going to be difficult. I mean, look at the fact that Insanity is playing Twisted Fate. Those Destinies are going to come in clutch. Dawnbray, all this time, has been so good at finding engage angles for the squad. And the fact that he keeps getting Nautilus, I'm starting to feel is not okay. Because honestly, even though he's not one of the S tier supports at the moment, he definitely makes it look like it is.
Yeah, for Dawnbray, absolutely. And honestly, you know, you might say that he's not one of the S tiers. I vehemently have thought that he is, right? With the amount of crowd control that he provides, when you're comparing things like the Leona, the Thresh, the Nautilus, the ability to engage, but also the disengage capabilities from Nautilus is something that you don't get out of champions like Thresh and Leona, right? You got the Zenith Blade in, you've got the Death Sentence in, but then to get out, you have to use the crowd control in your ultimate, or just the crowd control in another ability to flay them back, to throw the Q onto them, right? Whereas with someone like Nautilus, you run away, find a wall, find a tower, anything that you can grapple to, and just throw out the depth charge, right? So I really think that this is an underrated champion, and I do think that the respect should be here. And locking in the early Lulu for Kenji does not show me the respect that I was really hoping to see towards the bottom lane of 100 Thieves, because, man, even without the help of jungles, even with just being alone in the bottom lane the entirety of the game, Array still has some of the highest, I mean, one of the highest KDs in this entire competition in all of Proving Grounds.
I think a lot of that for Array too, is like as a player, is just how good he is in these team fights and how he positions himself. Because he's definitely picking up a lot of kills. You know, it's part of how you get a high KD. But if you look at his games in the matches, especially in the last couple of weeks, very few deaths. This player rarely ends up getting caught out, ends up playing in these team fights really well here for 100 Next. I mean, part of it is, of course, again, Dawnbray has been smurfing, has been doing really good at setting up these engage angles, making it so easy for him. But Array is still playing out of his mind in these fights.
And we are going to get right into it. Game number 1 between Winthrop University, our only collegiate team currently in the playoffs here, going up against the number 1 team. I think that everyone really on the casting desk can agree in 100 Thieves Next beatdown. I am so ready for this. And you know what? Just based on what we've seen from 100 Thieves Next in the past, coming from Insanity in particular and Fnatic, I think that we are not going to have a slow game like we kind of experienced in the last couple of weeks.
Not likely. I have a feeling, especially 100 Next, going to be very active in the earlier parts of the game. I mean, both teams will be when you have Lee Sin, especially. I said in the draft, and I am still going to be looking for Mordio to have some early game impact, because I think that's going to be really important for Winthrop University here in game 1.
I think there's a lot of things that are going to be really important for Winthrop University. In
Yeah, that's like number one, though.
That is true. That is a very good point. I mean, it's a lot of pressure on, these both in the top. Mabud, Mordio, I mean, the two M players that we are seeing here. I think another thing to touch on, too, considering, the bottom lane, I guess, and the opposition in Vex, 400 Thieves Next, or the opposition of 100 Thieves Next, is the stats that we were looking at, right? And I think it was Qualifier that actually touched on it, of saying, yeah, sure, the first number that you're going to look at in the Array Vex matchup is the KDA, where it's insane for Array, like a 10.6 or something like that. But then if you look at the damage dealt, the average damage from Vex is like 600 plus per minute, which is insane. Anything over 600, what Fire said, is pretty nutty. And you had something like 620, whatever. So Vex still a very solid player. Now, Kenji and Donbray is more of the curious matchup, right, that I'm interested in, because we've seen how quickly Donbray says, all right, we're going in on this. Array says, absolutely, I'm going to follow it up. We've got the solid target acquisition that we need. And the nice thing about having an Enchantress on the other side means that you can go for either, right? Whereas if you've got somebody like a Nautilus, it's okay, even if you get a Polymorph, even if you get some crowd control on Donbray, you really don't want to go for him. You want to try to poke down damage onto Array. If you get a lockdown on Kenji, sure, go for it. And then Vex is just a follow-up.
Yeah, and it's going to be quite the battle for level 2 here. You got to imagine Array and Donbray will get it first and be able to just pressure, as they are certainly the stronger in the 2v2.
There it is. Depth charge followed up by that passive. That's all that needs to be applied. I'm sure Donbray has already used a bunch of pots, but that's okay. He's got a biscuit.
That's right. He's doing just fine. Biscuit delivery, all those health potions coming in clutch. And now I'm glad we're switching over to the junglers. Already level 3, both junglers looking for a play. I love this from Fnatic. Expecting the play from Mordio in transition.
Oh my goodness. The jump does come through to Insanity, the flash away from Ivano. Insanity does not want to have to flash, but does in the very end, and it doesn't matter because the first blood is picked up here by Mordio. Fnatic able to do a lot of damage here in response. Might be the end of that play, getting a little lockdown. Fnatic's not going to be able to do much more than that.
I mean, it was a really nice read from Fnatic, but Mordio, early damage on the Lee Sin and Ivano flashing away was a big deal as well. No trade coming through. Insanity forced to flash and TP. So already a nice play from the jungler of Winthrop, who I was saying I wanted to see some early aggression and a chance overall for a play to be made here. And you can see it. Fnatic knows it's coming, but he couldn't protect Insanity from that initial burst, and that was ultimately his downfall.
Yeah, after that, I mean, Fnatic did try. You're talking about the speed, though, coming out of champions like Lee Sin and Silas in the start. Sure, maybe you need some items for Ivano. You need some levels for Ivano to feel a lot more comfortable in this, but that's not the case for Mordio. And so it was a quick reaction time. I love to see that. I mean, I was kind of on edge there, right? You see Fnatic potentially looking for a pinch right there, and Sanity just a little too far forward, right? No gold card picked up here. Ivano is very low on mana on top of it. This is a pinch opportunity once again if Mordio does decide to do something just a little too dangerous for Ivano at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic went for the crab and is going for his bot side jungle. So if Mordio made a play, he wouldn't have been there, but it's fine. Ivano wouldn't be able to follow up. And now he, because he's poked out a lane, has to TP back as well. So there isn't going to be much of an advantage there early on. But here we go. We're seeing Mordio again. Off the recall, already has the Iron Spike whip because of the First Blood gold. He's going to go for the Krugs and could potentially look for a play on this bottom side of the map if he wants to here.
There's a Vex sitting a little bit low on mana at the moment. That's fine. And they do have a little too much pressure right now, right? That's another thing that 100 Thieves Next is totally okay with, right? Falling a bit behind on creep score, especially when you got somebody like an Ezreal on the other side. Ooh, depth charge not coming through on that one. It's a lot of damage just poked back onto Array and Donbray. 100 Thieves Next absolutely says, yeah, I'm Array. I'm willing to fall behind on creep. Let's let them push, right? Let's give ourselves more of an opportunity here for a gank. We are going to see from Fnatic, Ivano also making his way down here. They don't have eyes on this player. That means that Donbray is going to be the first one to go down. Kenji takes a lot of damage, but Fnatic gets pushed away. Array will also go down, and it's going to be 3 for nothing in favor of Winthrop University. Beautifully done.
Jolly, I said Winthrop had to give us a good early game, and I think that's exactly what they're showing us so far. Beautiful dive coming through. 2 kills onto your Ezreal, 1 onto your Silas. It doesn't get much better than that. Getting this early gold lead, especially in this matchup where, yeah, the first few levels for Vex and Kenji are a little rough, but again, now that double range, we saw it coming in where they started to get the tower push, or the wave push rather, and set up that dive in the first place here. And we're going to see the replay. Really nicely done. Array and Donbray, they know they have to respect it, and Ivano finding this angle as well was a big deal. They thought on the side of 100 Next that they can go for it. Don't realize how many people are actually here. And the juggle of turret aggro. This is perfect.
It really is so wonderfully done, especially with Vex being able to pick up that double buff on top of it, right after getting that double kill. And hey, you know what? Even with the pressure, that was something that I was saying. All right, Array is like, yeah, we can play behind. It gives us more of an opportunity for a gank. But when you're shoved that far under tower, and then you see Mordio coming through, whether or not Ivano is a part of that fight, you're still kind of antsy, right? You're angsty about how things are potentially playing out. And now we're looking already at about a 2K gold lead. 6.5 minutes, that's actually quite solid here for Winthrop University. A lot of that gold, as you mentioned, going into the hands of Ivano and Vex, and that's exactly what they want from this Mordio being in the second place. Top 3 members right there. Vex getting very close to hitting that 3K gold pretty early on in the game. And man, we can see how far down Array is. This is a player who normally gets one of the highest gold ratios in the game. That's not the case starting on this one. A lot of that having to do with the communication with Mordio and Ivano.
Yeah, it's looking like Dombre and Array looking for something with that room timer with Fnatic, but weren't able to actually get anything here. So far, 100 Next haven't been able to do too much, and Dombre has actually spent a lot of time in the lane so far early on here. Even though these plays have come through, Array only finds himself down about 10 CS, but the gold, as we saw from that graph moments ago, shows a different story where how Vex, those 2 kills really put him ahead. And here's Mordio. Again, they want to push this advantage they've got for themselves here. And with Kenji walking up like that, it gives you that inkling where it's like, okay, Lee's got to be here, man. We can't do anything about it.
It's all right. That means that Mordio gets to make the first move on this dragon, even recognizing that that Scuttle Crab has been picked up by 100 Thieves Next. There's also the Vision Ward. Based on the fact you can see the X above the eye, you're aware that there's a Vision Ward somewhere nearby, probably in that single bush. Very popular. They're going to try to go for the steal. It's not going to be enough. Mordio able to ward hop over the wall after using the smite at the perfect moment. Winthrop is doing everything right in this game so far, beatdown.
That's right. Everything's going their way. Kills, dives, objectives, and you can see it. The gold just continues to grow here for Winthrop University. Of course, 100 Next. We talk about late game. We talk about scaling. They're definitely not in the gutter just yet, but I think I like what I've been seeing from Winthrop so far, and I want to see them continue with this early game pressure here, especially now that Mordio's hit level 6 and has access to the Dragon's Rage. Could make another play mid if he wants to. Could go for yet another bot dive. I think that's part of why you're seeing Fnatic just kind of hang around a bit in the area, because he may suspect this. Yeah.
Might as well, right? Mordio's already found so much success, right? You got a level up so far down here for your bottom lane, which is where we wanted to see a lot of pressure. And something that was mentioned on the desk is just so much damage coming out of this player in Vex. And while Array has this consistency, we talked about low deaths earlier on, beatdown, a lot of damage and a high KD. The damage is actually a little lackluster considering how high his KD is in the overall for a lot of these games, how high his gold ratios tend to be. It's still about 2,000 gold, by the way, in favor of Winthrop, even though they have not picked up another kill. That's okay. They're focusing on objectives. They're focusing on pressure, and they're getting everything that they want, which I don't think 100 Thieves necessarily anticipated. Maybe a little bit of disrespect coming out of 100 Thieves where they realize, okay, yeah, we got to play top tier right now. We can't just mess around.
Certainly the case, as now we have a setup for potentially another dive, but they know Ivano and Mordio did pass a pink ward. The question is, can they actually do anything about it? They are going to be able to clear this wave. Oh, no.
That's going to do it. The teleport is coming through, but it's so much damage onto Dombre. Array will be the next target of that. WQ coming out of Ezreal. No, Mordio is going to pick up the kill. Sniper is able to make it through here using the teleport and using the ultimate, but to no avail. Both members already dead. Another 2 for 0 in favor of Winthrop.
And they don't even care about the wave, Jolly. It was all cleared up, and they just full sent it anyway. That is the nice thing about the Lulu. We talked about it, the shielding and that wild growth. They got through the laning phase, Jolly, and everything we were worried about is over now. And you can see it. Array, Dombre, they know what's coming, and they're hoping clearing the wave would be enough. But you can see it. The engage comes through. The health onto Ivano means he's just going to be able to flash his way out of this one. And even though Sniper immediately TPs to defend, ultimately, he wasn't able to actually do anything about it here.
All right. Taking a look at the tweet at the bottom here. Of course, anyone who wants their tweets to potentially come through on the show, make sure you hashtag We Are Unified so we get a little notification about that. I love the smell of 100 X's tears in the morning. It smells like victory. A little Apocalypse Now kind of quote right there. I like that.
And now you're seeing Vex. I mean, good sense coming from him to walk away. Support is not in the area, and Dombre is out of vision. So his positioning is good. He's going to try and maybe pick up that cannon with the True Shot Barrage. If he did, that's got to be a good feeling. But ultimately, not as much maybe here. 2 plates in favor of Array. That is a nice little chunk of gold to kind of allow him to slightly catch up to Vex, who was just miles ahead until moments ago here. And you have Fnatic, who is on the invade on this bottom side of the map.
Essence Reaver already completed, as we can see there, right? The tier having 138 stacks on it. Vex is just feeling so comfortable. We saw how much damage that True Shot Barrage was already able to do to Array. Still just sitting on the Noon Quiver, has to finish the boots first. Never a bad option here, of course, but there is, it's hard to make a decision on that one. I like to see the defensive options being picked up here by the ADCs, because you're kind of anticipating it's going to be like the Sork boots. It's going to be the, the cooldown reduction boots, Ionian here for the mid laners. Everybody else tends to be defensive. That's not going to be the case here. Array, of course, on this Jinx, looking for the attack speed. Going to try to get a little bit of a boost in that. We'll see if the recall comes through, because a purchase would be nice here, but behind by about 15 creep score. Look at the bounties on the side of Winthrop, right? We're looking at 2-0-4, 2-0-3, 2-0-3. And this Lulu, Kenji, perfectly playing the support role, 0-0-5. A little bit of stun down there. Insanity's going to pop off some responding damage. Ivano doesn't even care, though, because the involvement in the other lanes makes up for, any lack of presence here. It is going to be Destiny's Gate coming through, the Wild Growth on to Vex right there. Ivano tries to come through into the wings.
There's the stun card
as well. Insanity gets that one. The ultimate on top here. A root down. And
a triple?
So
no way.
He'll make it a quadra potentially right here for Array. It's going to be a shutdown instead for Insanity. Still, finally, 100 Thieves Next finding their first successful fight of the game.
Jolly, I can't believe this. In one swift motion, 100 Next catch themselves back into the game and get a triple onto Array, the 80 carry that we keep talking about on this Jinx. And there it is. Winthrop, the early game lead that they worked so hard for, everything they did these past 12 minutes, it's gone now. Now you can see the recall. Array has Kraken Slayer. The damage is just going to be insane. And actually, before this happened, this is kind of what I was expecting here. Fnatic walking his way down. You see the mid push coming through from Insanity and the Destiny we haven't seen used very much in a while. And there it is. The depth charge gets set up into the gold card. And at this point, you all saw what happened. They just get torn apart. Wild growth or no wild growth.
Mordio does come in here at the end, which is helpful, but man, the timing here for Fnatic, it was the timing for Fnatic that actually was incredible in that team fight, to be honest. The repositioning there by picking up the Soul ended up working out so dang well, and to be able to pick up somebody like Ivano in the Silas, Fnatic felt absolutely okay about that one, and man, you saw Ivano running away towards the latter half of that fight, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're running past, somebody else is coming to help out, and you're like, run, 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 run. But it was too late for Mordio at that point, ended up deciding to go in with the Sonic Wave.
And wow, what was a 2,000 gold lead has been reduced to 600. Still in favor of Winthrop University, but of course not hurting as much as they were just moments ago on the side of 100 Next. Now, nothing really to play for here. You still have junglers, what look to be on this bottom side of the map, but now Dawnbreeze just looking.
Woo! Max range hook coming out there. It is going to be the ultimate as well, but no follow-up. Array just a little bit too far back to make anything happen with that one. Man, the pressure that Winthrop has decided to put down on the bottom half of this map is insane, right? You want to keep punching up Vex. You want to keep Ivano and Mordio ahead of their game, but those 3 shutdowns, most of them, I think, going over to Array there was massive.
Oh, here we go.
The Destiny's Gate once again coming through. The kickback by Mordio to prevent Insanity from finding the gold card on it, but that's all right. They got the assist. They got what they wanted.
Yeah, Winthrop certainly overstaying their welcome just a little bit, Joel. You gotta understand that, hey, you know what? We haven't seen that Destiny in a little while. I wonder if he has it up, and then you hear the sound. Insanity coming in clutch. I don't know what Winthrop are really hoping to get from that exchange as well. Now, the gold is pretty much even. What is it, 100 difference here in favor of Winthrop University? When we talk about the front to back, when we talk about the damage late game, this is a game state that very heavily favors 100 Next. And Winthrop, Mordio, we're looking at them now to... they're going to basically have to start from scratch when it comes to trying to get themselves some leads here so they can contest with 100 Next later on.
Will be the first tower going over to Winthrop. Vex still feeling pretty good in the position that they're at. It is 100 Thieves Next, though, with just a little bit of responding pressure, right? That lead, that level lead that we had, the creep score lead that we had that was all entirely in favor of Vex and Kenji has kind of gone out the window here. That ultimate is going to come through. It does hit Donbray, doesn't hit Array, and the two of them are more than okay with that, but you also got to acknowledge, hey, where did Kenji go?
Yeah, let's go for some warding. You do have Insanity and Ivano trading, but ultimately, everybody's going to be fine. It's worth noting, too, Insanity has, actually, both mid laners do have a stopwatch. So in this next fight, probably in about less than 2 minutes' time for this or the third Drake of the game, rather. It's probably going to be pretty impactful for both here. And again, we have Fnatic and Mordio on this bottom side of the map, because now at this point, with Dragon coming up, not so interested in that second Rift Herald. It's just about getting vision. It's just about getting control so you can start stacking some dragons. And if you get control of this area first and force Winthrop to walk into you because they very much want this Dragon Soul as their win con, well, I mean, 100 Next would love for you to walk into them. They would appreciate it.
They would appreciate it. I mean, yeah, appreciation is not something that either of these teams is willing to give over right now, though, right? 100 Thieves, they're going to be able to pretty quickly equalize that first tower that was picked up by Winthrop University a little bit early on. And lucky for them, even though a lot of these fights have been going in favor of 100 Thieves Next, they are staunching the bleeding at least a bit. That early lead that they got for themselves, the fact that Vex is now capable of roaming around here with Kenji, offers them a lot more flexibility now coming into the second half of this game. But we have to bring up the fact that crowd control was something that you mentioned early on. We were talking about these compositions here, right? And when we're anticipating fights to be happening around things like this Rift Herald, around the next Dragon, which is probably where 100 Thieves Next is going to put their focus in, so a nice move by Mordio, there's just not a lot of crowd control offered from Winthrop University. They're going to have to approach these fights so incredibly carefully.
I think Winthrop is getting this Herald is going to be pretty nice for them because they do want this Dragon. It is up in 15 seconds, so they'll be cutting it close. But ultimately, you can do that usual thing. You drop it in the mid lane, force 100 Next to either answer it or have some severe damage done to their mid turret. The thing is, I honestly think 100 Next would be happy to just go ahead and make that play make that trade for the Dragon. And that's why Mordio, you see him move top lane. Instead, they're going to, I like this. He actually is going to hold on to the Rift Herald, not even drop it yet. And he's going to save it for the tier 2, which means more gold.
That means the Sniper's going to get jumped on here with a little dash over the wall by Ivano. Nice shroud by Sniper. Breaking vision there. He's going to be able to dash away from things, and the Rift Herald is going to come out in an attempt to pick up the third tower here for Winthrop. The Dragon just handed over, but they are more than okay with that. It's all about gold. It's all about pressure here for Winthrop University as Donbray moves up, maybe try to find something for himself. The passive applying to Mordio, but that should be the tower down here pretty quickly. So much damage now being applied to Donbray. No help from Sniper, who has to run away from this fight.
No TP from Insanity.
On the edges of this, trying to get somewhere. That was the shroud. The middle of the shroud is where Sniper got caught out right there. Super Mega Death Rocket just gonna barely miss. We see the opposing one coming out of Vex, so no more kills to come through, but Donbray does go down.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of trying to defend that turret. It was at no health, and ultimately, when you have someone able to tank like Tom Kench, that play really isn't it, Jolly. So ultimately, you do get the gold, you get some kills, and we might have another fight.
Potential for responding when you get the
TP?
flash out actually from both Kenji and then Vex. Now Insanity is in a sticky situation. Finds the gold card. Pressures
Yes,
off
the
one
ulti?
member.
Oh,
uses
the kick!
ultimate, but gets stopped up. And when you're going up against 5 members, even Destiny can't get you out of there.
That's right, and that was a really nice punish there. Moving straight from top to the middle of the map here to punish at least one person here from the side of 100 Next. And Insanity used the TP in that last fight to get to that tier 2 that had no health, by the way. Maybe he wasn't looking, but ultimately, it's going to get Winthrop a nice amount of gold, a lot of pressure on this mid turret, even though it isn't going to necessarily get it for them here.
That's all right. Vex applies so much damage to these towers, right? Even just being able to get off one W, one auto to follow that up, I think is enough for Winthrop to say, hey, that was worth our time. We didn't lose anything in response in that one. We can see Mordio trying to get a little bit more pressure here towards the top side. A little bit of a, up until that moment, it was very lackluster in terms of the top side, right? I don't think we even had any vision of that aside from the one time Sniper came down to make a play
right.
in the bottom side of the map. Otherwise, I mean, Mabud and Sniper have just kind of been duking it out up in the top. Generally something in the early parts of the game that is pretty difficult on Sniper, but hey, this is a player that knows what they are doing with the Akali. We've seen it time and time again, so has managed to just kind of stall this one out. The pressure provided by Winthrop does help this top laner. They have now about a 2,000 gold lead, but at 20 minutes in now, that's not a huge differential whatsoever. It's one fight is all it takes to turn that around.
Still, I want to praise Winthrop just for how well I think they've been playing this game so far, especially given that big fight they end up losing in the bottom lane like 8 minutes ago that evened up the lead that they originally built for themselves. They're continuing to make these smart decisions here. Okay, we can't fight for Drake. We have Herald. Let's take 2 turrets on the top side. Oh, they're going to give us kills and more gold? No problem. We take those any day of the week here. And speaking of kills, oh, they're looking for Mr. Ivano. Oh, yeah. Goodbye, sir.
Yeah, that's going to do it. I
didn't even know he was there.
Also there. We had the fog of war there, so we didn't even get to see the fact that that bottom lane was there. But hey, you know what? If it's working for Winthrop to throw 4 members into one lane to pick up 1 kill, it's going to work on the other side for Hundred Thieves.
Did so good too. You had that bot wave pushing, so there's no need for you to actually worry about sending someone there for the moment here. What does that mean? You can walk down as your mid laner pushes top. It's a 4 versus 5. You could threaten the Baron, but ultimately I think health bars were a little lower than 100 Next were comfortable with. So they're just going to walk away from this one. Ultimately, still positive play. You get to push this top wave very far. Someone still has to answer this bot wave as well for Winthrop. So 100 Next again managed to catch themselves up just a little bit with that play on the top side of the map. And you can see Winthrop really focused on trying to get this mid turret down here so they'll be able to shove out this mid wave. And with this next dragon coming up in a minute's time, that's probably going to be really important for them so they can try and set up a bit of deeper vision here. We're already seeing it.
Ooh, gonna try to steal that blue buff. It's not going to come through. The ultimate from Vex misses everybody somehow. Just goes right in between Sniper and Insanity there. Hundred Thieves maybe looking to push a play here. There's a lot of vision that has been placed down by Winthrop already. We do have 2 items. We do have 2 items on Array as well. They don't know Fnatic is there. Destiny is going to come through on top of the gold card hits. So does the Mega Death Rock, and Array is going to pick that one up. Moria with a nice little dash over to Vex. It's going to keep him in at least non-gray screen moments.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent use of the Hex Gate there from Fnatic to get that angle. No vision means it's so easy. And now Sniper putting in a little bit of damage, but ultimately it is still Tahm Kench. It's the real action is here, just a little further up. 100 Next, looking to push the pace. They're losing. Oh, they lost Ombre.
They did. Sniper has to re-engage on this one. That works out really well. It's a lot of damage. Mabud has a big opportunity here, but the Shroud comes through. Sniper out of here. The depth charge or the abyssal dive comes through from Mabud on the other side. Of course, 100 Thieves Next finds so many wins. It doesn't matter. Mabud is now stuck. Out comes the Heartbreaker. Mabud taking a lot of damage. Array is like, I can probably help you out here. The teleport does come through. Kenji is on the way. No vision on that TP, but a good shot by Kenji to get the heck out of Dodge. Fnatic picking up the kill.
Yeah, really nice. It was a scrappy one, I'm not going to lie, but ultimately very heavily favoring 100 Next, not only because they get more kills in the end, but they continue to hold on to their pressure on the map here. And again, good use of the Hex Gates for this position to come through, and it's just really nice to be able to get this kill overall here. The only real problem, then 100 Next kind of split their focus just a little bit here, and this gets a little messier than we probably would have liked, but ultimately it still ends up being pretty positive. They're now at the soul point. And, yeah, you'll see what I mean. Insanity's in trouble.
Insanity's in trouble. This little pinch away, sure, we saw Dawnbray go down pretty decisively there. Vex just needed one more Q, but Sniper able to actually get out of this one alive is, pretty impressive here.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of it is just history. Like, the damage is just so strong coming out from Array, who's very confident to walk up. Actually almost kills Mordio, and you know the rest of it. Mabud gets run down very, very slowly because it's Tahm Kench, but ultimately 100 Next now are at the soul point here for the Hextech Soul, and for those who are still a little unsure, think Infernal Soul, but stronger.
Yeah, it's huge. Honestly, the Hextech Soul comes into play. And when you're looking at a late game team who's finding some amazing plays right here as Kenji takes just too much damage, but it's Dawnbray who ends up trying to re-engage on that one and gets pulled in by Ivano. The tower goes down. Beautiful ultimate coming out from Vex is going to deal a lot of damage to Insanity and Array. We can see the Abyssal Dive being followed up here. The initiation here by Sniper. Tries to get so much damage out, but gets taken down. Mordio doesn't even get killed there. Beautiful ultimate to ensure his survival. Winthrop turned that one around in their favor.
Yeah, really nice play. Sniper going a little too deep, hoping to be able to turn things here, but oh my gosh, they're looking.
They are. The Abyssal Dive comes through for Fnatic right before that soul drops. Maybe a bit of a turnaround, but with Vex on the front line here and the amount of damage he's able to provide, you gotta run away from this.
I mean, Vex is at 3 items right now. Those Mystic shots hurt, Jolly. The damage
Yep.
is there, and you're starting to see it come online in some of these fights here. Earlier on when Dawnbray goes in, it's those Mystic shots that are pelting him and ripping it to shreds here. And you see the Hex Flash come through, but I think 100 Next not as prepared for the giant presence in the mid lane here, and I think there might have been a disconnect on what 100 Next wanted to do overall, because nobody could follow up Dawnbray here, and at this point, it is just a little bit of desperation, like, okay, can I kill Mordio? Looks like I can.
When you have Kenji and Mordio both sitting there at less than 100 health, yeah, as Nikali, it's a spicy play. You want to go in on that, but even lacking the crowd control that we were talking about, it doesn't matter because the damage is coming through right now from Winthrop.
Right, and Winthrop, I mean, this game has just been so back and forth. Winthrop doing a really good job of punishing some of the disconnects, some of the missteps here from 100 Next, and it's been what's keeping them in this game from pretty much every minute here. And Winthrop actually in a pretty solid position here. The gold lead is minimal. You can see it in how they're fighting, that they, as long as they can be the ones to initiate, have ways to really set this one up. And now we're at this point in the game where we got to look towards this Lee Sin to try and pressure Array with a play. Try and get that kick and take Array out of the fight, because this Jinx is still incredibly powerful at the moment here. And if 100 Next get to play front to back the way they want to, Array gets the free hit. That's a great spot to be in. But right now, Winthrop has started off the Baron.
Not as much damage as they probably would like, but it is a lot coming out of X here, so they're actually burning it down pretty quickly. That looks like 100 Thieves Next is going for the initiation. Dawnbray with the hook takes too much damage, has to back away from this one. The ultimate as well coming out of Vex means that there's just too many low health bars, especially with Dawnbray being the one who's supposed to frontline these fights. At least they stop the Baron.
Right, and you force Winthrop off. Nothing really comes of it. No deaths, no summoners. So you just managed to walk away. It was a good look for Winthrop, and they knew when to back off, which is good. Now, though, I think part of the problem is, or what kind of, I think, got them to want to try this one out is because being able to secure the Baron in under 2 minutes time from here on out is going to be really important, just because that Dragon Soul is coming up, and they don't want to be in that tough position where it's like, okay, Dragon is up, Baron is up. If we try to fight for Soul, maybe they send most members Baron, and it is just a kind of a net negative kind of scenario, no matter how that ends up shaking out here. So Winthrop might look for another attempt pretty soon, but I think that window is very, very quickly closing, and that's why you see them focusing on this bottom side of the map, trying to set up vision, trying to apply pressure here. You can see it with getting mid priority and just committing all their members to this bottom river, because that's going to be the most important thing right now, denying the Dragon Soul.
Yeah, you really don't want to allow a late game team like 100 Thieves Next to pick that up, and just the damage that comes through from Array, from Vex. It doesn't matter how much extra range you can get when you transfer over to Pow Pow, right? When all it takes is a single Mystic shot from Vex to deal that much to Array, who also has 3.5 items right now. Man, you got to be feeling good as Winthrop University, and they want to force out the fight right here. It's going to be the root on to Mob.
Oh my god, the damage! Can he even press it? He can't!
Comes through. He can't even use any abilities on that one. Dawnbray's going to follow this one up. Sniper takes a lot of damage. The Mystic shot does come through. Ivano with the gold turns into a stasis right there. Flashes over the wall. Beautifully done, but Dawnbray is able to follow that up with depth charge. Ivano at least takes down Dawnbray before going down himself, and Sniper is going to be able to, Fnatic is going to be able to get a big shutdown there onto Vex. Overall, man, an ace, and only Dawnbray went down.
Man, this is tough. 100 Next, they get everything on the map, Jolly. The ace, the soul, and they're going to walk away with the Baron too. This is what breaks the game wide open in their favor here. This is where Winthrop are truly in trouble and in a potentially unrecoverable scenario here, as now they get the soul. They're going to grab this final objective here, and man, the replay of that fight, I think, is probably going to be the most heartbreaking thing, just because of how much damage Mahbud ended up tanking up, and it didn't seem like he was in a position to actually pop that gray health, and because of it, his tankiness wasn't as valuable.
Right? You have to absorb that shielding. You have to absorb that gray health to actually turn it into legitimate health. And we can see that damage onto Vex, I think, was a big part here, where Dawnbray said, yeah, let's go in for this. We know Tom Kench is looking for the fight, but let's be the ones to turn it.
Yeah, and it was just done so very well. I actually think 100 Next perfectly layered the CC so that Tom Kench could never actually pop that gray health and get the shield here. It was the dredge line, it was the yellow card, it was the W from the Viego, it was the death chart, it was everything, just one after another, and they managed to take him down without any real damage coming their way, so the rest of the fight became very easy.
Uh-oh, here's
They're
another
doing it
one.
again.
Another oh, it was actually absorbed this time, but it doesn't really make a difference because
No.
the damage comes through, so Mabud goes down. That's 47 seconds of gray screen right there.
That's a very, very long time for Mabud to be off of the map here, and it just means 100 Next going to continue taking these outer towers and stacking more gold in their favor. Just like that, in about a minute and a half's time, they get a 6,000 gold lead, and Donbury, he's at this point, he can just start looking. The rest of the team, 100 Next, are going to be able to rip apart whoever he manages to grab here.
Donbury finally able to stack a couple of other items. We can see that the depth charge was picked up here by Ivano. Maybe looking for an opportunity to apply a little bit of crowd control themselves. Give Vex an opening to apply some solid damage, but you've already got Kenji very, very low. Array takes a nice little pop there from the Mystic Shot. In the meantime, we can see Sniper is utilizing these Baron minions to get some pressure on the mid side. Ivano the only one to respond to that because you have to keep focus on where Array, Insanity, and Fnatic are at. Donbray gets jumped in on the Wild Growth. Applied right now.
Oh, they're too far.
Route onto Mordio. They split themselves up. Maba taking a lot of damage once more, able to absorb that health, but what can be done? Absolutely nothing after that. It's going to be Donbray that picks up the kill. A double kill there with a beautiful ultimate here. Available still. Array just using the flash to get into that fight, and this might spell the end of the game right here for Winthrop University beatdown.
Oh, Mordio, he tried to find the angle, but the team wasn't able to help him. The TP on that final minion means this is going to be it for game one. Only 2 members left, Jolly, but what can they do?
Basically nothing. We see Sniper even engaging on that one. Ivano is going to go to the gold card, so it doesn't come through. Array with the attempt at getting that ultimate down a little bit too late as the damage was already applied. Sure, you know what? You're going to get a couple of pickups, but what is that going to do for you? Mordio has an opportunity here. Insanity very, very low, but it won't be enough. 100 Thieves Next, after losing in gold through the first 3 quarters of that match, turned things in their favor. One single fight, sometimes that's all it takes, beatdown.
I think this was a really intense and very tight game one. You got to give a lot of credit to Winthrop. They knew exactly how they needed to play this game, and you could see what they planned in the early minutes and also stuff they had to decide on the fly, and I think both were excellent coming out from them. But ultimately, 100 Next every time managed to find a good fight to win their way in. Sometimes it's Winthrop overstepping just a little bit and allowing these ways back in, and sometimes it's 100 Next forcing them. I mean, I think about that fight that got them the Soul and the Baron as well, and I think that's when we finally knew it was over. I think until that moment, it was pretty much anybody's game here, but the team fighting, the way 100 Next coordinated there to remove Mabud before he could actually even do anything was insane.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, that was the front line, right? That was the ability for the rest of the team to initiate there. And when you got somebody like Mordio, who sure is a jacked up Lee Sin, you've got Silas there, who has had quite a few kills, you still are at an opportunity where if Donbray gets the dredge line onto you, applies the passive, that's enough time for Array to follow that up. So we're going to have to see how things play out. Of course, this is a best of 3, and it is going to be side selection by the losing team in Winthrop here. They've got the decision whether they want to do that first pick or want to maybe get a little bit, a couple of counters before we head to break. Hey, you know what? If you're looking to upgrade your gamer gear, look no further. You can start your 2022 off right with the official Unified Esports merchandise brought to you by Skulls. There's hoodies, there's joggers, there's jerseys, there's armbands. There's a lot more that is also coming soon. Hey, you got the skill. Now get the swag. It's Skulls, SKULLZ.com/collections/Unify. That's going to have everything that you need. So gear up. Game on with Skulls, and with that, we will be right back after a very quick break, going over to the analyst desk to break down game number 1.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. What was a energetic start to our first game of the night here, Winthrop versus 100 Thieves Nets. Lads, we just got to see what was a phenomenal back and forth between these two, and really, I want to start this off by just taking a look at the draft here, y'all. Like, this is a very fun thing to actually look at and kind of dissect between these two squads.
Yeah, the draft order and just the way that Winthrop approaches this is always really interesting. Like I said at the top of the show and last week, I think this is one of Winthrop's main strengths, which is pretty impressive considering they don't really have a coach on this squad. It's just their one of their substitute players, Grim, who's helping them out with this. So that's just a nice tidbit for you out here. The interesting thing that I think they've done with this draft in specific is they have they've given themselves a really solid mid-jungle to play through and then go to get Vex ahead. And they've also gone for this Tahm Kench and they've banned away the Gwen, which I think actually sets up top lane really well too. Sniper doesn't really have a lot of champions that are really effective into this Tahm Kench. It's a really good just wall pick against his pool in general. And we haven't really seen him match the tank matchup quite yet in this tournament at all either. So I think this actually was a really solid approach. Not to mention the removal of the scaling picks from Insanity. I think this was actually a really good way to start the game off for Winthrop.
Coach, what? How you feeling? Is this the counter strategy to Sniper here?
I mean, definitely it seemed like a solid outtake on it. You saw from like the first phase, like Smack said, really solid take away the 2 scaling mid picks, maybe put Insanity on something that provides less scaling. So then you can like isolate one part of the map, then focus it. And you can see they then played to that in the second half of their draft, where they banned like 2 bad Tahm Kench matchups, blind picked the Tahm Kench, and then they were kind of fine handshaking. When you saw you rush the anathemas just to make the side lane that much more unbearable for like the first 20 minutes. And they actually executed on it pretty well in that game. They definitely looked to isolate bot lane off like the first early plays. They definitely executed on their draft quite well. It just kind of like ended up being a little shaky later on. But they definitely took the game, and it should have been in their hands.
You get to see some impressive TF play. Qualifier, I want to jump onto you real quick with this. We haven't seen a lot of TF play inside of this tournament. How are you feel seeing Insanity coming in here and really giving us a really good display on how to play this game?
No, yeah, I mean, I think Insanity was showing us all why this champion needs to get picked more. Twisted Fate, like we said, I think Winthrop did have a really good plan trying to take away agency from Insanity. He's one of the most veteran players, probably one of the strongest players in amateur, if not the strongest player in amateur. And so taking away the stuff like the Corki and the Victor, force him onto something that can't impact the game quite as hard, can't 1v9, but he still just picks the TF into a counter matchup, finds a way to still manage to 1v9 and bring the game back when it was looking like pretty doomed, right? Not gonna lie, after those first 5 or 6 minutes. So yeah, huge props to Insanity for just locking them in that TF, having the confidence and executing on it.
Speaking of doomed, by the way, we got some replays to show exactly what you're talking about here, because Winthrop had some chaotic things in mind. They had a plan, and it was just chaos from the get-go, really and truly. And Smats, they had a strategy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, calling it chaos is one thing. I think it was chaotic for 100 Thieves to even be in this position, but for Winthrop, it was really calculated. You can see Mordio is fully ready to set this one up. Mid lane, if you look at the mini-map, you'll see that the wave has just pushed in for Ivano, so he's fully prepared for this dive. By the time that they spot him and Mordio, it's already way too late. They're already underneath this turret. Array and Dombre are chunked, and they're super pushed back to a point where it's really easy for this dive to happen. The turret juggle, is really solid from Kenji and Vex. They take the absolute maximum, and by the time that they are able to get out, it's already done. And that was a really good way to break apart the game from the get-go. It's the reason that I was excited from the mid-jungle being really volatile and powerful early game for this team as well, because it opens them up to do stuff like this.
And getting opened up for that is phenomenal. But man, there were some moments here. Fakin, we had a Nets replay here. It shows them playing a little bit disrespectful. Some things happen on Vision. I'm kind of curious on your perspective as a jungler, seeing how everything unfolds in this Nets clip.
Yeah, I mean, breaking down on this play here, you can see that just looking at subs, that Winthrop's actually down a lot of subs off the play they just made. But they actually go over a ward fully here, and you see that Morty is on top side of the map. They're really not playing to defend their bot lane a whole lot. Another like really easy dive coming in, and General Sniper wastes the TP. So they're just kind of throwing more resources into what appears to be a completely doomed side of the map instead of looking for trading. Right? They don't secure Herald. Morty doesn't go top side to even like catch a wave. They're just kind of getting a little bit complacent in the early game, as a result of those like first two early skirmishes where Winthrop's really laying on the pressure, and like after a play like that, they should have been able to take full control of the map.
Is this a moment that would actually scare you as a jungler to go back down to the bot side?
Oh, I mean, if I look bot lane there, like, well, they just walked over a ward and crossed the river. I can't go bot lane there, right? If you think about it, like if you go bot lane, you're just gonna die as a result of it. Like you saw General Sniper burn TP as well. That's where you just kind of cut your losses and go play for top lane or secure Herald at the very least, right? Should be trading in situations like that.
But then they had a variable. They had a man on a mission, Insanity on the TF, coming in hot. Firefire, you talked about it, man. This champion should be picked more. Insanity gives a full display here in this replay.
Yeah, and, you know, really props to Insanity here. It's tough against the Sylas. This is this counter matchup where you can take your ult, match your roams, things like that. But here he finds a chance to have a good timer. They're able to find the engage. Vex isn't able to get his flash off. And then we start to see some of the disrespect out of Winthrop, right? This is a 2v4 play now after Kenji dies, and Morty was flashing in, right? Even if he got that kickoff, he's dead to rights, right? And Ivano dies as a result as well. And, you know, this is, Bacon and I were talking a little bit about, sometimes when you're ahead, the best play is just to do nothing. Exactly. Like, you have a Sylas who's going to be really ahead, you have an Ezreal who should be like a full item up on this Jinx the entire game. And in the end, it just came out to be, oh, the Jinx is actually up a full item because she picked up all these kills. They were able to make these plays. And this wasn't the only time Insanity did this. He was able to consistently out-roam Ivano with the TF, make use of the strengths of the Twisted Fate pick there. He did have the one awkward TP to that top lane turret, which, again, is maybe 100 Thieves Next are reacting a little bit too hard, right? The Sniper TP to bot lane to try to save a play, the Insanity TP to top lane to try to save a play. You know, I think that's definitely something that they could clean up, but Insanity was definitely like the way that they got back into the game, and he deserves a lot of praise for that game.
I'd say it's also even more impressive considering the fact that that was after what happened mid lane tragic, which we didn't like really go over. Like that, he should have been fully out of the game. They even created room timers on him, so the fact that he was able to just kind of chill out, breathe, and then still find these opportunities to take the game back in their favor was really, really impressive on the TF.
And tragedy was in the name of the game for Winthrop fans, I feel like, as the game went on, because they were fighting back. They were having these great moments, but Smats, our final replay kind of shows a little bit of that nail getting dug into the coffin.
Yeah, I think it's time that we just visualize the nightmare that ends up happening after that bottom lane gank occurs from Insanity. We are now in the realm where 100 Thieves Next have a fed Jinx on 2 items, and you can't really get to her, you can't break through all of the front line, and Sniper's doing what he does best in this team fight as well on the flank. He's able to 1v2 this and survive. Just watch Array. It's really impressive to watch Sniper, but watch the health bar of Array and see just how full it is this entire time. He's able to just free fire throughout this entire 5v5 team fight. It's just so huge for Array to have all of the team backing him up, and I think that's really the main story for me after this game is 100 Thieves. They went behind in bottom lane, and even though Sniper was on a carry champion, they didn't give in and play cross map. They didn't just say, all right, bot lane's losing, we're going to play to top. They acknowledged that Array was on the big late game carry. They know just how good he is at playing those late games. Even though he was behind, they still put all the chips into his basket, and they show that this is a multifaceted team. They don't just play through top lane. They're going to be able to play through all 3 of those main carries on their squads from their lanes, and being able to win a game like this through bottom lane is just so scary for today and tomorrow if 100 Thieves do end up winning this series through this. It's just such a huge moment for me, and I think for a lot of fans watching this as well. Big props to Array.
Yeah, I mean, I think at one point when it was like 6-0 or something for Winthrop, I said, well, if 100 Thieves can win this game, it's really doomed for everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to make any crazy comparisons, but teams in the past who just can't lose and come back from like these huge deficits just to always win, makes me think of like old SKT, stuff like that, right? Maybe I'm going a bit out of the box there, but like that's the relative power level of 100 Thieves Next.
That's high praise for sure. I mean, I would like to compare that power level to Vets. Vets had a phenomenal performance, was going Super Saiyan inside of that series, was busting it out. Those Mystic shots were crippling. They were hurting. And I think every single one of us were making like owl sound effects every time we saw like a Mystic shot hit. Just seeing the HP bar get depleted was disgusting. I want to bring up, Winthrop is taking blue side here inside of game number 2. Bacon, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling about this squad taking the blue side, wanting to run it back with the strategy they might have?
I mean, you can definitely tell from like a draft perspective, they were very comfortable that game. I don't think anyone would be hard pressed to argue the fact that they got the draft that they wanted, right? Mm-hmm. They had locked down a General Sniper. They didn't play Doom at all. They like won mid early through having like 2 winning matchups and then transitioned at the bot lane. It really just came down to execution afterwards, and like Aiden or Qualifier talked about before, but where they just kind of got to a point where they had to do nothing, but they just kind of forgot that TF ulti was in the game, and so they disrespected it and ended up throwing. I think it's going to be more than 100 Thieves to actually solidify more of a draft that allows them to protect their bot lane a little bit better, because it was kind of just the ball tossed to their court from disrespect from the side of Winthrop.
Thanks, Owen.
Thanks, man. I don't call you Qualifier, so.
Well, with blue side coming in here, lots of value to be had here. We are getting ready to hear from the ladies and gent that we're going to see give us into our Nets game here. So, Jolly, Beatdown, go ahead and take it on away.
Thank you so much, Travesty. Appreciate it. And of course, the rest of, that's a pretty beautiful analyst desk. I don't think anyone can deny that, right, Beatdown?
No, nobody could.
I am interested to see the blue side pickup, right? I think Qualifier is absolutely right. And, that was kind of the draft that Winthrop was going for, right? While some people might question the Tom Kench and the pick, I said it, and then it was kind of reinforced there on the analyst desk. The fact that Tom Kench, in terms of General Sniper, right, that's one that he doesn't really have an easy counter pick to. So yeah, you can take away like the Jace. I think we ended up seeing the Jace and the Gwen being taken away towards the top side. So they were pretty comfortable with running that one through. I think the interesting part is having an Enchantress in the bottom and then having someone like the Tom Kench in the top who really couldn't involve himself in the game until a lot later on.
I think ultimately, even though, I had my qualms with Winthrop's draft in game 1, I think they still played a really great game for a lot of it. There were small missteps and things 100 Next were able to capitalize on, but I think it bodes well for the series overall. I mean, I don't think it was that crazy to think that it's not that crazy to say that a lot of people didn't expect this series to really be close in many ways. So I think Winthrop showing that they can play against teams like 100 Next, who are favorites in the tournament, show kind of why they got to this point in the game in the first place.
And the Xin Zhao, which was banned out previously in the first phase by Winthrop, is going to be the first pickup. And you know what? I don't know about you, Beatdown, but I like that first pick so much better than the Lulu early pick, right? The bottom lane ended up working out really well. A lot of that having to do with Vex, though. And also, it was Dawnbray playing pretty far forward. So it was Dawnbray that got caught out a few times. Dawnbray was the one that ended up, taking a while to get items and actually get to the point where he could really frontline for the rest of the team. Right. I like what Xin Zhao is able to offer, though, especially going into what we know 100 Thieves Next likes to play with.
Yeah, and I like it too overall, as long as Mordio doesn't build Trinity Force again. It kind of just fits in with what I was saying that they need here. Early game pressure, ability for Winthrop to have that agency in the first couple minutes into the game to make plays. And considering what we've seen Fnatic able to do all across the tournament, and honestly did a pretty solid job of game 1 as well, I think it's a good thing to see that pickup come through. Interestingly enough, Fnatic's going to take the Viego again. I mean, to the later parts of the game, it was monstrous coming out from him. And I mean, keeping Array on the Jinx, I think is just great.
Why not, right?
Why not?
What? I think he was 0-2-1 at the early parts of the game, and by the time he ended up dying, he had like over 5 kills, right? So you see the turnaround, you see how quick it is, and also how comfortable a lot of these players are from playing from behind. If that is the case, we had, I mean, just a barrage constantly from Winthrop towards the bottom half of the map. I would assume that they were going to see the same kind of thing, right? More of a roam from the mid lane towards the bottom than any sort of, you know, we really didn't even see that much roaming coming out of the supports aside from Dawnbray a little bit at the beginning, a little bit from Kenji at the beginning, and then they realized, you know what, we got to stick with these carries, because for the first time in a while, it's not the mid lane, it's not the jungle necessarily that is getting a lot of these early kills. It is the ADC, and that's something that you need to support, because we know how much damage Vex can do here. I do like we are seeing, a pickup that we have seen quite a few times from Mabud here in the Gragas. Of course, that is, you know, potentially flex, but we're going to be seeing it at the top lane. And probably, Vex, man, did so much damage there as the Ezreal, a solid lock-in, and a good response to Jinx right now in the current meta.
And I like overall too I like the Gragas pick just because it's kind of similar to the Tahm Kench, where even though it's not going to necessarily win you lane in a lot of matchups, it's very safe, very hard for you to like genuinely fall behind unless there's a supreme amount of jungle pressure on the top side. So I like this play for Mabud, and overall you give yourself more ways to fight. Because Tahm Kench, it's a little tough when we're talking about engage, but Gragas, it's a little different. Yeah. We're talking about body slams, we're talking about that exploding cask to disengage or to start fights off. I think I like this one a lot better, especially considering how 100 Thieves like to play their front to back. Being able to disrupt that with that ultimate, I think would be a really big deal here. And now that we're going to see these next couple of bans here, I do like the Braum takeaway. Just take away more defensive options here in the support role for Kenji. I think is going to be pretty important here, just because they already have so much disengage to begin with.
That and Ezreal, Braum is a great combination. The fact that you can shift in, you get the double auto off on that one on top of it, means that if you got concussive blows applied, it's so dang easy to get that combination actually fully stacked up there. And so we do have just the same exact thing coming from 100 Thieves. Of course, a little bit of change in those final picks. But, you were talking about the ability to disengage. That was something that I had mentioned during the last draft phase, or draft in game number 1, that I was a bit concerned about. You have the disengage opportunities from 100 Thieves. You didn't have it from Winthrop. Already, these 3 members, Xin Zhao has the Crescent Guard, has the ability to shove people off. You got the Exploding Cask, and as you said, the Body Slam. And then you got the Shift Away, too, coming from Vex here. So much more mobility and opportunities to either continue and engage or force out a disengage if necessary. The Jace was not banned away this time, as the Akali was swapped for that in the second ban phase for Winthrop, so it will be the lock-in, which is a pretty solid matchup here for General Sniper. And the Leona that I was kind of talking about being in high prio right now, Leona, Thresh, and Nautilus as those 3 champions, is another really good one that goes along with this Ezreal for solid engages.
Oh, I like it. It's gonna make the game. It's gonna make the game very confusing. Because, there's Vex the champion, Vex the player, but ultimately, I think it is a really nice pick here, because we talk about Mordio, we talk about Kenji on all the engage that they have and their ways of going in. The thing I like about Vex is, even though she offers a lot of utility for the team, she needs people to go in with her, people to set her up when she goes in with the Shadow Surge and allow her to get kills and reset here. So I think the all-in for Winthrop is great. I think that Vigar pick at the end is really nice, actually. So really good response from 100 Next. I am pretty sure, was it them who did this exact thing last week on the R5? Yes. Yeah, and it's actually going to be a little tougher now, because you basically you throw up the baby cage, and a lot of what Winthrop want to do is a little hurt now. So I think that's a really good response here from 100X. They have a lot of ways to create space, and if you play through Sniper in the early parts of the game where he gets strong, offers a lot of poke and damage with that Jace, it's going to be so hard for Winthrop to approach, and what's going to end up resulting in these situations is, even if they do approach, they get stunned up, they get a lot of damage onto them, or they're whittled down by Sniper, and so 100X decides to pull the trigger themselves.
Yeah, and now I'm not certain about that. We did see the Gragas lock-in. I just want to double check that. Okay, it is Gragas, actually. Oh, okay. It is Gragas. It is Gragas. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I was going to say that's, that's interesting to pick out, especially considering the Jace wasn't banned, because Jace is definitely one of those into Tahm Kench that you just don't want to allow through, right? You got a lot more survivability going in with the Gragas with the passive, just with the opportunity to stay in these fights a lot longer, but Winthrop definitely, I feel like they weren't super upset with their first game draft. However, I can guarantee that they are so much more comfortable with what they have locked in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I still think overall this definitely has more of a cohesive identity with what they got for themselves here. And we'll have to see. I mean, they were down 0-1 against Wildcard last week, and they managed to bring it back. And even though Kaisa isn't in this game, Winthrop still have this chance to even up the score and see if they can take 100 next to a game 3 here. Of course, tournament lives are on the line as this bracket is still single elimination here. So will Winthrop be able to actually tie it up, or is 100 next just going to boot him from the tournament and just sit in the playoffs waiting room or the finals?
Well, we all know what they want, and we all know also, if anyone was here for the pre-show, you heard the desks themselves kind of consider, all right, we're looking at 100 Thieves going in, probably 2-0ing this one, and then also acknowledging they're probably going to go to finals and like 3-1 that, I think was the prediction on this. So 100 Thieves, not only the favorites in this, but probably the favorites in the overall tournament. They have just performed in such a cohesive way that other teams haven't really quite shown themselves up on that level. The beginning of that game from Winthrop was fantastic, though. And I do think, to acknowledge something that Qualifier said on the desk here right before we were swapped over to the draft, to acknowledge if you're that far ahead, don't make these risky plays, right? Kind of wait it out. And you can't let that happen for too long, because 100 Thieves will absolutely take advantage of that every single time. But just prep yourself for these fights, right? There were so many times that we saw it was Mabud primarily who was like, I want to start this fight. And you couldn't really tell if the rest of the team felt the same way. 100 Thieves also said, okay, we'll take that fight. And it does sound like before we hop into the game, we are going to take a very quick break just before hopping in. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 2 here between Winthrop University and 100 Thieves Next. Much for hanging with us. We just wanted to make sure that everything y'all are experiencing and viewing on your end is coming through clearly. Apparently we had a little bit of lag for you guys. We wanted to ensure that that won't be the case in game number 2, because it very well may be the last game in this series. Isn't that right, Beatdown?
That's right. The problem was fixed. It was all Jolly's fault, if I'm being honest. So it's been addressed, though. Don't worry. Yeah, she had a stern talking to and started sharing some of the bandwidth with Unified. That's pretty much what happened. You can quote me on that.
Yeah, you can quote Beatdown on that. Probably not Unified. I wouldn't quote Unified on that one. They might be a little bit upset.
Hey, I mean, I'm sure they'd be happy to blame you for their problems. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's true. They do have to. They do have to give me a little bit of extra bandwidth as my ISP struggles. My ISP really does struggle, and I can blame the ISP very reasonably. All right.
I think anyone can.
Always blame the ISP. I'm excited about this game. I can feel, though, that Winthrop is probably pretty nervous, right? When you have your backs against the wall, when you have caused an upset, like in the last matchup, when you've made it to the playoffs, you fought so hard through this tournament, coming in at that 14th seed, which is absolutely insane to think about.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure to come through and say, darn it, we're going up against the number 1 team here, right? This is as difficult as it could possibly be, but still, they are putting on an excellent performance for us.
I was going to say, and I think ultimately, like, Winthrop definitely have a lot to be happy about, no matter how it ends up playing out here today. I mean, top 4 after being seeded 14 is really a good look for them here. As we're going to see how they manage to perform in this game too. This time around, Kenji is on more of an engaged pick, so it's going to make this bot lane matchup more interesting, and it's going to make just Kenji's impact, I think, around the map early on more interesting as well.
Oh, for sure. And that gives some roamability now to both of these champions, right? When you got like the Lulu, who's able to poke down Donbray, it means that neither of them really is going to have a big opportunity for roaming. And we saw it in that game number 1, how we got some of the most minimal support roaming that I have seen in this entire tournament.
That's true.
But that's what happens, right? Because we had so much pressure coming from both Vex and Array. That just goes to show how solid and how equal these two ADCs are. Of course, given the bit of early game here, having the Q available as an initiation for Dawnbreak does mean that they're going to have a little bit of extra pressure in the early parts of this game. No surprise, they have priority on the wave, and that will be the case for the next little bit until Kenji hits that level 3, until they get a little bit more survivability available for the team here. But man, the way that Vex has been playing on this Ezreal is quite incredible. And yeah, we do see Mordio has picked up his red buff, but is going to go in on the invade with this one. Going to try to steal it away from Fnatic. Reveals himself a little bit early. But hey, you know what? It works out.
Yeah, there's no fighting here. Mordio wins that absolutely 1,000 million %. So Fnatic just has to kind of accept that he loses his red buff there. And I did want to see Mordio overall, again, continue to make these early game plays and to kind of have that impact here. And we're actually getting a replay. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and see. Nice little 2x speed here as he's sprinting his way. Yeah, like this is kind of what we expect. Just for him to be able to make these plays early on, because Xin Zhao, very strong duelist here, matched by very few other early game jungles. And well, Jolly Viego isn't one. So really easy for him to do this.
As much as Fnatic loves to make these really early engages, really early ganks, really early plays in one of the lanes, as soon as he hits level 3, that's usually the case. When you have your red buff taken away like that, it removes that possibility, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I don't expect that Fnatic is going to allow that to prevent him really from going in on any of these engages, just because of who he is as a player, right? But that is a big pickup from Mordio, a really solid play. And once again, I mean, Mordio has become the playmaker here for his team, recognizing that there is a lot on my shoulders. There's a lot on Mudbud's shoulders as well going into Sniper. Game number 1, he got first blood early on. Game number 2, he gets a nice early invade on top of it. It's going to be a bit of an engage here by Dawnbray, finds the hook, able to get the passive down, and Array takes no damage.
And such a big wave already. Oh, actually, yeah, Fnatic
has no buffs on this one.
Yeah, I don't think he wants this one. I think overall, though, I like it. Looking for the play and also managing to kind of keep Mordio away from his top laner. I say that, but he's already going to show up here just to allow a nice wave shove to come through. But wow, Sniper, he's not afraid to play with a little bit of fire here, Jolly. I don't think we're actually going to see the dive come through. It's just so Maba doesn't lose too much XP. But overall, him showing does mean Fnatic can just kind of go back to farming and not worry too much about his laners being in trouble, at least for now.
Yeah, with Mabed being that low on mana, I think that, that was the biggest thing. All right, Mabed, you can't do anything. And with your autos, with your passive, sure, that's helpful. But my goodness, underneath the tower, we can't allow you to take any shots. That's, but still, you're absolutely right. A good play. No big differential in gold. We're only 5.5 minutes in. Granted, at this point in the game, when we were, a minute beyond, we had a 2k gold lead in favor of Winthrop. So at least 100 Thieves Next, they're playing a little bit safer this time. And I do like that bit of pop back that we saw from Sniper and saying, all right, hey, you know what? You guys can come in here. I'm still going to walk away, but I can at least get this empowered cannon shot onto you and really reinforce the fact that Fnatic was here for a reason.
And overall, game definitely a bit slower than before here. It's looking like maybe we're seeing a similar play than what we did earlier on. I can see Ivano trying to get that wave shove and potentially allow Mordio to look for a play, but I don't think they're actually going to look instead.
Oh no, it might be another first blood for Mordio. Nope, it's going to be the first blood for Kenji thanks to the Ignite. Great teamwork again coming from Winthrop though, and once more it is focused on this bottom lane.
And Fnatic, I think, was hoping for the extra help you get for finishing the Grump off, but unfortunately it does not play out into his favor. Kenji is there, and Kenji has a lot more impact at level 4 than he did in game 1 with the Lulu here, so it's a good punish. It means Dragon goes the way of Winthrop. Of course it means Sniper can get a little more aggro topside because he knows Mordio isn't around, but ultimately positive play coming through from Winthrop here, and I'm still looking for them to continue to keep this early game pressure on. It is just a little tough. I think mid is going to be very hard to gank unless you can force the cage out from Insanity early. So I think he's just going to be focused on pressuring bot lane, pressuring Fnatic in his own jungle.
Which has been the case, right? You saw Kenji is a higher level than Fnatic right now. That is painful to say. If you are a fan of 100 Thieves Next on this one, they are going to look for the initiation on to Vex. Of course, the Ignite does come down on the other side. Kenji is there, able to help out the rest of the team. Barely the ultimate coming out of Ivano is going to miss, so no follow-up initiation on that. Mordio is in the wings. Insanity has moved down. The Crescent Guard comes out. Dombre takes just too much damage. A flash over the wall by Array right there. But Fnatic is in the wings, able to pick up Ivano, pick up the soul, but that is the end of his journey.
Oh, I mean, it is a little tough that Kenji's picking up a lot of these kills, but ultimately still Winthrop coming out on top with these trades here. Fnatic managing to get, or rather Insanity getting one with the Primordial Burst, but I think it's a nice play from Kenji over the wall in general, and even though Ivano couldn't join, because Mordio went in, managed to snag the blue buff, he's 2 levels up on Fnatic, and he's able to flash and use the Crescent Guard to separate the members here and allow Dawnbray to get pressure. No amount of resetting is going to help Fnatic at level 4 do anything else.
Yeah, it's true. That is so darn rough, and especially when the Heartbreaker allows you to navigate over the wall, it allows you to get to a safer position, re-engage onto the backline if you really want to, and Mordio is already more than halfway off that cooldown. Fnatic still sitting at level 5. That is such a rough position to be in, but very well observed by Winthrop to say, hey, we know that Fnatic is an aggressive jungler. We know that he's going to try to poke his head into any of these side lanes or even the the mid lane. Having Insanity get some early pressure would be very helpful. Didn't come through, and so bullying out Fnatic is huge. That means that Winthrop not only find themselves that first dragon and the Cloud Drake, of course, they find themselves the early kills. They also managed to pick up the Rift Herald very early in this game.
Yeah, and this time around, they're proving to not really put as much pressure on the bottom side of the map here. Now the Kenji is on a roamer, and the Leona, who's able to have impact elsewhere. They're playing away from this Ezreal, who's usually pretty safe, as long as you buffer the dredge line like that. And look what that means. Kenji is here on this top side of the map. Sniper is going to basically lose his entire turret, and you just allow a lot more gold to go in Winthrop use pocket here. They're just continuing to take control of this early game like they did in game 1, but the question is going to be, Jolly, are they going to slip up and give 100 Next their way back in?
Well, that's exactly what 100 Next is going to be looking for here. I mean, a less than 9.5 minute burst tower is insane, though. A nice push there by Vex is going to get hooked up by the dredge line, followed up by the root, followed up by the traps there. And Dawnbray taking all of the tower aggro is finally going to allow a kill to go over to Array.
Well, this is the thing that is tough. If Vex isn't able to dodge out on the dredge line, I mean, that's the result. And what does that mean here? Even though Winthrop get a lot of gold onto that top side of the map, being able to get all this gold on Array, he's up 30 CS, he's up a kill. It's so impactful just because of the fact that... Okay, I thought Array was in trouble. Just the fact that if you think about where the gold is going, I mean, yeah, you're putting pressure onto Sniper, but ultimately pushing the wave as far as it is means he actually gets to farm rather safely closer to his side of the map. And all that jungle pressure means Array is going to continue to kind of take control on this bottom side of the map. And he's playing Jinx, Jolly. So getting all this extra gold, already having the Kraken Slayer is going to be very important here. Even though Mordio has the most amount of gold, it's tough. The remaining members, or rather the next 3 in the top 4, are all members of 100 Thieves Next.
Yeah, and look how far down Vex is, right? That, and look, it just popped above Ivano right there. But when you're talking to people you don't want to have all the gold on the side of 100 Thieves, it's Array, Insanity, and Sniper, specifically those 3 members, right? Yeah, they bullied out Fnatic. Fnatic doesn't really care because he's one of those players who really just facilitates his team, right? Sometimes he'll get a lot of the pickups in terms of those fights. Generally, though, no, he does an excellent job of feeding through some kills over. And now, looks like Winthrop trying to set up for another sneaky play here. They have eyes on Fnatic and Dombre having just moved up towards that blue side of the lower jungle. They're okay with that. I mean, man, you know, this is so much pressure coming from Winthrop. It is good for 100 Thieves Next, though, because as you said, with all the pressure on your lanes, you're going to have the creep advantage. And we can see that, you know, across the board and everything aside from the jungle, which makes sense.
And that's why you're seeing, despite the kills, despite all the turret plates going through Winthrop, they're only up 1,000 gold. And now, we got a play coming.
Oh, the Hex Flash comes through. Dombre isn't able to get the hit and now gets
Can he even ult? He does!
Can he get out of here? The ult does come through. It's going to be the ultimate as well from Vex. It deals a lot of damage. The Heartbreaker there from Fnatic, but Mordio is going to find a double kill. So much damage coming out of this player with the Flash.
Wow, and again, Dawnbreak goes for the aggressive play, but it doesn't end up panning out. The numbers are there, and even though I talk about how Winthrop's lead isn't that big, a lot of gold is in Mordio's pocket specifically, so he's very happy to fight in the 1v1, especially when you think about where all the damage is coming from Jolly. He's got the Gore Drinker, and he's got the Steel Caps, which means it's going to be tough, even with Kraken, for Array to do any reasonable amounts of damage here. It's Insanity who's going to have that big impact, and Fnatic won't be able to do much. I mean, look at this replay. You're going to see the play. I mean, the dredge line missing is not good. The fear into that 3-talent strike means Dawnbray doesn't get to be as effective as he wants to in the skirmish here. And look at Insanity. He has to walk away very quickly, only gets to drop a couple spells as his jungler, well, gets flashed on.
Yeah. Gets flashed on the Crescent Guard. Actually, I don't know if you saw the Crescent Guard blasted 2 members away and forced the hit by the ultimate from Vex onto Insanity, which meant that Insanity especially could not be a part of that fight like he wanted to. He could not go in and help out the rest of the team. Beautifully done right there. The Super Mega Death Rocket is just barely going to miss. The Ignite is still on Vex, but it's probably not enough damage there. Speaking of damage, Mordio is going to be able to supply that. Luckily for 100 Thieves Next, Fnatic is in the wings of this fight, but probably won't be needed. Mordio out.
I like it. He's charging the Spectral Ball just in case. You see Mordio come through with that Audacious Charge, but he doesn't go in. Ultimately, Winthrop still coming out positive in the early game. This time they managed to stack 2 early Drakes here, and it's looking like we have an Ocean Soul in the mist. So a very powerful soul that the squad can play for here as... oh god, my bud.
This is what's going to happen in this matchup, right? Sniper had the upper hand on this pick. Mawbud maybe gonna try to it's gonna be the flash over the wall.
Oh my god.
Does not hit there. Mawbud feel really good about not dying in this instance.
Yeah, it did cost a lot, Flash, but and ultimately he's gonna lose out on a bit of that next wave. But yeah, good on him to be able to manage to walk away from that one. Really aggressive play coming from Sniper, who's holding on to a lead here. He's getting closer to being able to build that momentum unit. Once the tier is fully stacked and he's at the 2 items, those Shock Blast, they're gonna hurt. People like Ivano, people like Vex are going to have to be very, very careful here. Now, as we see, XP, Insanity has the most XP in the game, but ultimately largely in favor of Winthrop here. As we're going to see, I think Insanity, no, he's not going to get it.
Does try to go for something here. Of course, Insanity recognizing, hey, I've got 2 assists. I haven't gone down. My opposition on the other hand.
Oh, yeah, if he cages, they're dead.
Oh, absolutely. You know, he's got the upper hand in most senses here, right? He has his first item finished out in the Everfrost there. that Vex not sitting as comfortable.
Oh, bye,
Sniper now is in a
Sniper.
bad position. You don't have a tower to disengage to. Mordio is going to be able to pop off so much damage here. Sniper will go down and see another kill over to Mordio, who's 4-0-2.
Yeah, and it's insane. But again, the trade that we're talking about here, now instead of answering, 100 Next are just continuing to play on this other side of the map here. And what does that mean? Array gets a nice chunk of gold into his pocket, almost purely based off farm, is going to be able to... Oh, yeah. Bye.
So much damage coming through with the QB in up. It's going to be followed up by the Shadow Surge. Oh my gosh, beautifully done. The Corrupting Potion barely keeping Avano alive in that fight.
Unless...
The flash
okay.
comes out to dodge the Super Mega Death Rocket. We didn't see it, but I saw that charge on the left-hand side of the UI right there.
As you say, Summoner Spell forced out here. Avano forced out in general is... Whoa, this is a bold play.
Oh, barely avoiding that event horizon right there is Mordio. Of course, going to walk back forward onto the traps. Dombre is going to be the target. Solar Flare does come out, as well as the Crescent Guard, the teleport, including from Sniper. Is going to be able to jump up, and it's a shutdown in favor of Fnatic with the Heartbreaker. They're going to continue on this play, looking for the second tower for themselves. It's going to be Kenji with the engage. The Zenith blade forward, uses the stopwatch, gets zapped right there by Array, but Dombre and Fnatic just too darn low for them to continue this fight.
And you can just see how impactful Insanity is on with these event horizons coming from this Vygar. It's so hard. Even when Donbury looks like he's in too deep, the cage makes it hard for Winthrop to really push out further. And once that comes back off of cooldown, I mean, it's just very difficult for people like Avano, Vex to be able to get off the damage here. You just saw it in that fight. It's Mordio most of the time who's outputting a lot of that damage. And it's effectively a 4 versus 1.
That's a big shutdown, though, for Fnatic, who has died the most times on the team, more than Dombre, who has found himself in a couple of sticky situations, right? So, man, send some gold his way, give a couple more pickups his way, and we know how huge Viego gets the later you get in the game, right? This is one of those champions that I still just don't understand how it works out, in that even from behind, he scales so dang well. His survivability is insane compared to a lot of these other champions and a lot of junglers in general.
And it gets very insane later on. That's the big one here. Fnatic, of course, still down in XP, still down in gold compared to Mordio, who has been in control in this matchup in the earlier parts of the game, and will use that second Rift Herald that Winthrop have picked up for themselves here. It's going to buy them easy access to their third Drake, and even if they get this pick, Soul Point is a big deal for 100 Next.
The misflash by Kenji. It's going to be the Super Mega Death Rocket that picks up the kill right there. Kenji maybe looking for something, saying I'm in too deep. It's not going to be a steal. It means Mordio has to use the Crescent Guard. Ends up getting pushed into the event horizon, and the Dredge Line comes through to prevent it from getting over the wall. Beautifully done right there by Dombre. All of the ultimates used on the side of 100 Thieves Next.
Wow, that's tough. I mean, ultimately for Winthrop, it is still a big deal. You get yourselves the Soul Point, and in doing so, at the very least, you do get yourself some time, and if you somehow manage to secure the Soul, you're back into the game. Problem is, I think Mabud's about to get put out.
Here comes the Hallowed Mist, a shift away. It's actually going to be buffered right there as Vex does take the stun, but is too far. Thanks to the shift that it's not going to come into play. And now 100 Thieves Next just gets to say, okay, we have a little bit more control around here, right? Array looking to pick up this tower, second tower, third tower of the game, right? And second tower for 100 Thieves Next. So these little things that they're able to push in their favor is the reason that they have found themselves in the lead for gold. That, and also considering the fact that when we look at creep score across the board.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, once again, so heavily favoring 100 Thieves Next. Even when you consider the big difference that Mordio has for himself, it doesn't really change things because the damage dealers on the side of Next are way far ahead.
I mean, especially look at Array. 60 CS up, almost. 2 kills, got 2 turrets, so many plates early on. I mean, this is a player they talked about on the desk. We talk about it every time this dude is on Summoner's Rift. He is just unreal. One of the best 80 carries outside of Academy last year, and he's shown it to us again this year. And so now he's gotten 2 items. He's at that part where Jinx starts to have a lot of fun, Jolly. And that's the thing Winthrop have to be careful of. Even though they got themselves this third Dragon Soul, they are no longer really in a position to fight. If they find an opportunity to get a pick and walk away, yeah, that's a different story. Or maybe Avano finds a nice angle with this Shadow Surge so that they can try to get some resets off and get picks. But 5v5, that's not going to be their way. They have to make something happen, though, in the next 3 minutes. Otherwise, 100 Thieves are certain to pick up the Dragon.
Yeah, they gotta prep themselves, right? And they have to ensure that Mordio doesn't make another risky play there. Excuse me, was at 4-0, now 4-2. And of course, hey, if you want some tweets to be shown here, you can give us some of your feedback on how these games are going. Just make sure that you include hashtag #WeAreUnified in your tweet somewhere along there. And as long as it's not, incredibly offensive, it's probably something that we're going to be able to show here during these games. We do love to see your guys' input. And of course, as we're casting, we're not really able to kind of take a side look at that Twitch chat. So we always appreciate production helping us out and giving us some of y'all's feedback, the viewers' feedback, because that matters to us almost as much as the players, right?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think the thing I'm most curious about is that guy who said 100 next tiers taste delicious or something. I wonder how he's doing. I wonder how he's holding up,
Yeah. Our Apocalypse Now quoter.
Yeah, exactly. How you holding up, buddy?
Right, yeah. Shout out to you, dude. Shout out to you being the only one so far that actually has a tweet that has appeared on the screen so far. I like how production is like, hey guys, like, come on, right? We want a little bit more from you guys. It is still in favor of 100 Thieves Next. Well done. It's Mordio, of course, that gets locked down right there. Insanity can at least poke a little bit of damage in response, but it's still 2 levels up that Mordio has over Fnatic beatdown.
Yeah, it's still quite a strong lead when it comes to XP here. And now you can see it, Mordio, Kenji moving together, trying to set up as much vision as they can, because the Baron is the big thing on the table at the moment here. They find a good angle where they can get a pick, they'd be able to start that Baron, and that would be their way back into the game. As you can see, 100 next, almost a 3,000 gold lead now in their favor. A lot of it on Sniper on this Jace, a lot of it on Array, and a good amount is on Insanity as well. I also gotta say, Insanity with the Anathema's Rush is that's pretty funny. I wonder who he put it on. I would bet it's Mordio, because I think the reduced tenacity would be really nice for when he cages him.
Yeah, huge for that player. Definitely the expectation, especially having the lead, right? Because when we look at if we actually look at the scoreboard here, we're looking at the only kills going to Mordio and Kenji. Is going to be Sniper here, who gets caught at the Solar Flare, is avoided thanks to the flash. Dombray's on the other side of the rest of 100 Thieves Next is looking for the fight. The ultimate from Vex comes through. That's going to force Sniper out of this. The ultimate in response from Mamba doesn't pick up the kill. Sniper has to get the heck out of dodge. Once again, the Shadow Surge is just a little bit shy of hitting anyone available for the re-engage there for Ivano.
I'll tell you what, Dombray getting a lot of value off of that locket, being able to save Sniper's life. And with 15 seconds to this dragon, it couldn't be more important.
Mabud is going to get Dredgeline right here. That's going to be a nice pickup. The first kill here for Insanity, who still has not gone down yet this game. That means that 100 Thieves Next are looking for another play. Vex, the flash forced out from just the dredge line. That's okay, because it's going to be a flash forward response by Fnatic, who uses the Heartbreaker to continue the fight. Sniper looking for Mordio on the solo side here. Follows up the dredge line from Donbray. It's a lot of damage coming from Mordio, but it's not going to be enough when you're against 3 members. In the meantime, it's going to be Fnatic, who is chasing down Ivano. Already used their flash, doesn't have an opportunity here, and this might be just like the situation we saw in game number 1 beatdown. Winthrop had the advantage the entirety of the game, and then it was a play like this around the 4th dragon of the game that gave them 2 objectives.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, Baron might not be on the table, but they are looking to fight.
Doesn't look like it. Dombray is caught out once again, being that support who says, hey, you know what? I'm okay with sacrificing myself. Mabud going to use the body slam to try to get around as the blast cone was utilized by Fnatic. So 1 member goes down. They were able to pick up the dragon, though.
Right, and you delay the soul, which is a big deal here. And that fight, that's why I like that 100 Next kept pushing. They knew they had the angle to go back in. No Eon Vex, no Summoner spells, and you can see it. It starts here because Sniper being able to back and teleport in gives them a lot of confidence. They're like, oh, wait a second, Maba, that's an illegal move. You can't be here and watch Vex. Ease has to flash away. No movement left for this Ezreal, as he wasn't landing very many Qs to begin with. So it just means after Sniper TP's back in, they can continue to push the pace. And even though they don't get the full ace, they get enough gold, enough members to make an attempt at both objectives here. And that's why they kept pushing. And if they actually managed to secure both, that would have been a doomer for Winthrop series here. So at least with Mabud's teleport, they're able to stop that Baron from coming through, but this is still a tough position to be in here for Winthrop University. They're still down about 3K, and 100 Next are in a really strong position just with, again, Dawnbray continues to find these angles and ways to start these fights off. People like Insanity are going to follow up with the CC. The range damage from Sniper and Array is just untouchable here. I think it's tough too, especially for Ivano, who so far hasn't had a successful Shadow Surge. Yeah, twice now.
Say, poor Ivano. Not only unsuccessful Shadow Surges, but really just not being able to participate in a lot of these fights, not being able to actually get close enough. And while Vex has plenty of range, plenty of opportunities for that, you got to stack up an item or two. We can see just the Everfrost has been completed. Of course, as you mentioned, the Anathema's change already done on the side of Insanity. So Ivano has been kind of bullied around. Maybe not quite as much as we saw Sniper getting bullied in the early parts of the game, but it is Winthrop starting this one. The vision not quite through here. 400 Thieves Next. They know there's only a couple members though, and they can't be doing that much damage. Dawnbray decides to go in on this one. The Event Horizon on that side. Mordio goes in with the Crescent Guard.
Not enough.
Solo against 4 members. Can they even take him down? No, Insanity has to flash away from this one. Ivano going into stasis will be taken down here by Array, who still has plenty of help. And that's going to be a double kill. Making a triple kill. Can we turn this one into a quadra kill here? No opportunity for a Penta, but Mabud is on the run. Fnatic looking for the re-engage. Mabud has the has the flash, probably has the body slam right there, utilizes both of those to get away.
It's just that easy. 100 Next win yet another fight here, Jolly, and what does it mean? It's Baron time. 2 minutes till the next dragon. Nothing else. That's right. That spells Baron, as it's going to potentially spell the end for Winthrop University here, because this is going to be a huge injection of gold into 100 Next pocket, and you can just see it in how 100 Next team fight. How did Winthrop find their way back in?
That's a tough one, right? You've still got the opportunity potentially for a Dragon Soul. That's going to be up in 2 minutes. So that is a close one, but man, with the fact, again, consider Mordio started this game 4-0-2. I think it was 2, actually, and has not added any numbers to anything aside from dying multiple times. And he's done a great job of going in, engaging onto the backside, right? Using that Crescent Guard, throwing off the rest of the team. But when it comes to the remainder of Winthrop not being able to follow up, because Dawnbray is a bit of a peeler, a bit of an aggro stealer here, 400 Thieves Next, 4v1 is not going to work out for Mordio.
And Dawnbray's just been so good all tournament long. It's just been crazy how this guy is here just subbing for 100 Next and has just been playing out of his mind so far. And Sniper.
Sniper flashes away from this one. Has a lot of damage on Kenji. Might be a kill. Dawnbray takes some focus here right now. Again, it's going to get the fear there by Vex, by Ivano. It is going to be the response, though, by 100 Thieves Next. And the pickup goes over to Sniper, who was the one that got jumped on in that 2v1.
Man, it's so tough. Even when Winthrop, you win, 100 Next win harder somewhere else. And what does that mean? They get control on this bottom side, even more gold in their pocket. And there's nothing Winthrop can trade for on the other side of the map. Yeah, Vex gets some chicken nuggets, which is all well and good. But ultimately, he's actually in a lot of trouble. No, he's going to be able to arcane shift away. But now, again, Winthrop denied a major win condition here with that Dragon Soul, because let's be real, 30 seconds from now, there isn't really a chance Winthrop are going to be able to do anything about it here. Oh my god, what happened to Vex? Is that the Shock Blast?
You know what? I didn't even. That was a little bit too high up the screen. I was looking at the
timers.
Fast. I was looking at the timers, right? Because not only is it 10 seconds from the dragon, but it's a minute still that this Baron buff is applied. Okay, Ivano at least gets a little bit of responding pressure. We see Mordio picks up the opposing red buff, but in the meantime, the base is broken into by Winthrop. So how much success can you consider that having? And now your entire team is split. You're giving up what could have been the Dragon Soul for your team and setting 100 Thieves up next for just more gold in their pockets.
And part of it is because you pointed it out. Mordio, so effective in the early minutes of this game. Problem ends up being that he put a lot of his attention topside, very much unlike what he did in Game 1, to allow Vex to really pull ahead and give Winthrop the advantage they had for some time in Game 1. But we're going to hold that thought as we watch the replay here. Sniper doing Sniper things, being able to flash, dodge the Solar Flare and the Body Slam. He doesn't get the kill on the Kenji just yet, but he's got help on the way here. And this is all while Dawnbray ends up falling in the mid lane. Ultimately, it's a 1-for-2 trade, and you lost your support in the process. So you're like, whatever, it's fine. It's Dawnbray.
Dawnbray is so willing to sacrifice his life for the rest of the team. He is one of those players that acknowledges, I'm not getting the kills, right? I have survivability. I have this Lock of the Iron Solari to help you guys out. Nothing within what I'm doing is for me at all. And that means that, you know what, he's just playing everything perfectly, right? Like, you gotta commend a player for doing that and facing the gray screen and then saying, I did my job well. Even though I died, that was what my job was in this opportunity.
Right, you can see it, like, he's been part of 12 of 15 kills. That's like 80% kill participation there for the support of 100X, and like the dude's doing his job, as you say. Rest of the team doing it as well, as they have pushed this vision line very, very deep. And of course, the Herald Path informs Vex, okay, I can't defend this turret. I just gotta let this one go. I just gotta farm under my inhib turret, and this is such a tough spot here. You can see Mordio trying to wrap around in the mid lane, potentially cut off the next wave, potentially see if he can catch somebody out here.
Oh, that Event Horizon is going to hit 2 members, though, and that means it's going to be some easy pickups. Vex might find something on
Oh,
Array.
no flash on Array.
The death
That's a lot of gold.
It's a pickup in favor of Vex as well. That feels really good as the barrage comes out. Fnatic jumping over the wall here. The blast is going to be used for Mordio to re-engage on this fight. Fnatic takes quite a bit of damage. The flash forward by Mordio on top of it as he already used the Crescent guard. Ends up getting jumped on in response here with Insanity on the back.
Wow.
You gotta be careful there, and Insanity is capable of providing so much damage. Vex gonna be the next target right here. Sniper managing to pick that one up. Kenji is being pinched out by Fnatic here. That means that Mudbud is not gonna stay alive for very long. Kenji, the last surviving member right here, might make it out, but no, the flash
Q over the wall.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
A Q over the wall is all it's gonna take for a clean ace. Oh, sorry, almost clean. Array did go down, but an ace from 100 Thieves Next.
And that's going to be the game as Sniper TPs in Jolly. 100 Next 2-0 Winthrop. And I got to say, game 2 looks clean as a whistle. 100 Next get their grand final spot.
Not as though it was something we weren't anticipating. However, I gotta say, Winthrop played this out so dang well. Just about 31 minutes into this game, 100 Thieves Next say, hey, you know what, the first half doesn't matter. We don't care how ahead Winthrop gets here. And it was a lot slimmer, right? It was a lot slimmer of a lead that Winthrop had, but they definitely still had that lead early on. They had all the dragons. They had both of the Rift Heralds before Baron spawned. They had pressure. They had a 9.5-minute tower, right? And I think that was actually Vex that was able to help take that. Or actually, it was probably Mabud and Morty on the top. But the recognition by 100 Thieves X by saying, all right, you know what? Xin Zhao, Mordio is 4-0-2 right now. This is a scary, scary Xin, and he's kind of writing the script for where he's going. 100 Thieves just decided, all right, let's group up. It's already time, and that way they were able to just pinch focus onto Mordio every single fight.
And the thing that's so big too is that when you make these early plays, especially when you commit topside to your Gragas, you have to think to yourself, okay, what does this cost us? And Fnatic, especially on the side of 100 Next, who usually, and you saw it in game 1, you see it in almost every game he is in. This guy is really good at, one, playmaking for his laners in the early game, and also really good at reading the enemy jungler and responding to a lot of plays in turn. Sometimes it didn't work, like the first gank in game 1 in the mid laner, but ultimately that this time around in game 2, instead they say, okay, you're putting a lot of focus top, no problem. We're going to put all our chips into Array on the Jinx on the bottom side of the map. And even though that early lead came through, you think about where that gold went. I mean, Xin Zhao and Gragas on the top side, a lot of extra gold. And then Jinx gets a lot of extra gold. What are you taking, Jolly?
Right. I'm taking the late game, man. I'm taking that late game play in Jinx. But you know what? We're going to get a little bit of an interview here. Travesty is going to be talking to, of course, the man that we have been speaking of so much here in Don Bray in that 2-0. Travesty, take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Unified Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. In terms of, we got an interview with the man whose Nautilus hooks just don't miss. Don Bray, how is it going, man?
Pretty good. It was a banger series. It was a
banger series. Yeah, well, look, you've been putting in some work. We've had some fans on the desk. We had guests that you were converting over to the way of Nautilus. How has it been going for you inside of this squad? I think you're the one member of 100 Thieves Nets that I haven't had the pleasure of talking with yet, man.
It's pretty good. My Nautilus is like probably my best champion, so I'm like beating up kids with it. It's pretty great. Yeah.
You just taking lunch money? Is that what the purpose of the Nautilus is here?
Yeah, taking down each team one by one.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing a fantastic job of that, and I want to ask, you guys had a 2-0 there, but it by far wasn't the clean series that I think some people might have looked at this matchup on paper and said, all right, 100 Thieves, absolutely favorited. You guys had some hiccups. Winthrop pulled out some moves on you guys. How did you guys feel in terms of comms going throughout that game?
Maybe just nerves or something, but I was like running it down kind of. Like I knew we could still win, but yeah, I think it was just a bit sus. But it's okay. We pulled out with the dub, so yeah.
So where did the confidence for the win come from? You gotta give me the secret here.
Probably our mid laner. He's like destroying every single mid. It's super. Yeah.
You could say it's insanity, right?
Yeah, insanity. Yeah.
The pun's sitting there waiting for it. I'm gonna have to take it. All right. The plays that came out inside of that game, phenomenal. You guys really know how to work together as a team. I want to ask you guys, next matchup, Golden Guardians Academy, Immortals AoE. How you guys feeling? Is there a team that you guys prefer to face, or is there a team that you guys feel like you're going to face and you're just going to start prepping for them now?
I think both teams are like we're pretty good, and like all the other teams are like not the best, so I'm pretty sure we can beat anyone. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are trying to end this without dropping a single series, is what I'm hearing here. Finals is the easy goal. Give me the game score real quick for the final. We had people on the desk saying, without seeing the matchup, 3-0. Are you in agreement?
Oh, it's a best of 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3-0. Yeah, I think 3-0. Yeah.
So just straight up, easy as can be for Don Bray here. All right, well, Don Bray, do you have any words that you would like to say for anybody? Do you want to have any kind of help for, being on Nautilus Studio all the time, or is that exactly where you want to be, or you got any words for your fans out there?
I don't know, but I think wait, I don't even know what the question was. I forgot, but yeah, okay. Yeah, I have no idea what you said, but okay.
You're good. Any words for any of the fans that might be looking at Don Bray, the people you've converted from the Yumi lifestyle to Nautilus, man?
Thank you for watching me. Yeah. It's pretty nice, I guess.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Don Bray, for coming in for the interview. Best of luck with your finals tomorrow. We'll have to see who it is, as we're going to send it back over to our desk.
But now it's us.
Lads, we're back at it. A 2-0 for 100 Thieves Next. Some hearts definitely broken. The throbbing has stopped. It's a sad day for Eric on the cast.
Well, yeah. I'm sure Destrex will be okay. His heart was in the right place, but
I can hear him screaming
100
already.
He had a dream.
Too good. Yeah, he did. You can't take that away from him, man. It's the
You never blame a man
is
for
definitely
believing.
there.
Exactly.
Well, talking about passion, 100 Thieves Next coming in, and they're feeling very passionate about the fact that they seem like Don Bray gave a very passionate interview saying that he feels like they're just head and shoulders over everybody. He is ready to just get into the finals. It's like, yeah, this is going to be 3-0 easy. He's with you guys. But it was not a convincing road here. Winthrop brought the fight to 100 Thieves in a lot of different situations here. We actually have a couple replays to actually discuss how these plays turned about, with our first one, which I believe shows a little bit of Winthrop going for that edge here and some nice moves.
Yeah, the early games for Winthrop, for both of these games, ended up being really solid. In this game in specific, it was less large of a lead in the bottom lane, but Mordio did actually have some really solid invades throughout this entire early game. This is the second one where he actually ended up getting a kill fully onto Fnatic, alongside stealing the Gromp, I believe, getting that full heal from it. So, alongside Kenji, he's just completely terrorizing this jungle matchup. Mordio did a really good job on both the Xin Zhao and the Lee Sin in game one.
It's definitely a nightmare, I feel like, for most junglers here. Vagan, you can probably back me up on this if you see a Leona in your jungle with the opposing jungle, right?
Yeah, especially if you can notice ahead of time that they're gonna have priority over the wave. As soon as a support like that dips out of vision, you got to know that you're on a very small timer. So,
and you were very high up on it, but there was a play that happened shortly after this. Herald play comes into it, and you were not entirely happy about the way that they utilized Herald over inside the map.
Yeah, definitely on their like 9-minute Herald play. After they secure the Herald, they bring their support up, but then they look to use it top lane, which doesn't really make sense because they picked Gragas to end up weak siding it anyways, and taking plates away from where you could be using it either mid or bot. Not only puts it on someone that is pretty low agency, it also ends up punishing the Ezreal. As you see that the Jinx is able to pick up 3 whole plates plus get a kill. And then because they take a tower so early top lane, the Jace is just easily able to access all this farm. It ends up working completely against their win condition. They accelerated their Gragas' game state, which doesn't really matter because the champ is kind of useless. But then they also put their Ezreal down so much. And as we saw from the previous game, once Array gets online on the Jinx, like, you guys are in for a world of hurt. I don't know how they really didn't think ahead on that one to just let Array get so strong.
Yeah, we were. I think we were inside of the desk.
It's a skill too.
Just hollering about this, right? Like
it was such a gold swing.
Yeah, I mean, we
Even if
were
Vex doesn't
already
die there.
like questioning the Herald, and then when Vex E's in there and dies on their tower, we're just like, oh no, it's a complete disaster, right? But you know, props to Array, you know, and Sniper as well. Props to Sniper first off for leaving his tower, just letting it go down, not dying to the cross map play. And then props to Array for, you know, punishing appropriately on the bot side. And, you know, before this series, we were kind of talking about like, oh, maybe Vex is the way that Winthrop can get a lead over 100 Thieves Next. And Array was like, what are you talking about? I got a 10 KDA for a reason. Just give me the Jinx. I'm going to go untouched in every single fight. If you put me behind, it doesn't even matter. I'm going to find some way back into the game, and I'm going to smurf it. So I think Array definitely showed up huge, and it is really scary for teams in the future because I think Winthrop did a really good job of attacking Sniper, of attacking Insanity, of attacking Fnatic, right? 2 invades before 6 minutes. And then Array just showed up and killed them all. So if you have to deal with every single threat on the enemy team, it's such a nightmare to deal with in draft, in prep, and in game. So 100 Thieves Next definitely are well poised right now to take the finals.
Yeah, it just kind of turns into a game of whack-a-mole where you pop one down, 2 more pop up, and it's like, how do we deal with this?
you can never win whack-a-mole, right? Like there's no
Exactly.
winner. You're just surviving. But when it's time to survive, there was a very awkward situation that ended up happening, and we saw that Winthrop was still trying to fight, right? They were still trying to find angles. They were still up in gold, but do have a replay to kind of show where things go wrong here, Fire, and you see where things start to turn.
Yeah, so this was where Winthrop was getting a solid lead early, but we see Insanity gets this chunk onto Ivano. Ivano goes back in kind of like a madman, almost dying. One more auto attack, I think, even would have done him in. But this is where, as Winthrop, yes, you've been doing well the whole game. Yes, you've been winning. And Ivano also first flashback from the rock here kind of sucks. But yes, you've been winning the whole game, and you can make some good plays. But you have to recognize here, this is a 3v4, right? You're putting yourself willingly into a 3v4. And Mordio does a really good job here. Dodges the hook, dodges the cage, dodges everything. But it just doesn't matter because they have Insanity here, they have Array here, they have the Sniper TP. And I think this is just 100 Thieves playing really well as a team. They're really just all together, all coordinated. You know, Mordio's kind of almost going for a solo play, right? And even, I mean, Kenji here too goes in, has the stopwatch, but you're still down members. And yeah, the super useful Gragas shows up at the end as Bacon was talking about. But like, these are the kinds of plays that, you know, are very normal for amateurs. Like, oh, you take a man down fight, even though you had a lead, and you start to throw your lead bit by bit. And these are the plays that, like, if you're a team who's really gunning to be like one of those top 3 teams, you can't really make mistakes like those because like a team like 100 Thieves Next will always punish you, right? Sniper, no hesitation, even though his top lane wave wasn't in the best spot, just insta TP because he knows it's a good fight. He knows that they'll get a lead off it. So yeah, honestly, great play from 100 Thieves Next. You know, Winthrop, clean it up just a little bit when you guys are ahead. You know, like we said, you don't have to force plays. You can just chill. You know, if they got to that 4th dragon and they weren't down so much gold, maybe they could have gotten soul and gotten back into it, right? You never know. But it's definitely tough when you're going up against a team like 100 Thieves Next.
Yeah, it just ends up being baby steps, right? Step 1, gain your lead. Step 2, not end up throwing it. Step 3, try and win the game.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the question marks for step 3 and then step 4 profit there. I'll be honest. Smats, what's profit for you? Where you see us 100 Thieves squad? You were hyping them up earlier on.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts real quick after seeing this 2-0.
I mean, for 100 Thieves, it probably doesn't really feel like a 2-0 for them. They definitely are going to come off of that saying, hey, we lost 2 early games. Well, we won 2 late games. We need to think about how we're going to approach the early game for this new best of 5. Yes, Dombre, it is a best of 5 tomorrow. And we do need to see what improvements they can actually make. Are they going to play to Sniper a little bit more in that early game? Are they going to try to unlock Fnatic to make sure his jungle doesn't go super awry in the early game? These questions, they have a very limited time to answer them because that final is tomorrow. So I think over the next 20 hours or so, that's going to be racking their brains. They're going to have to try to figure that out. And if they are going to win this entire tournament like we predicted, that is something that they really do need to figure out. Array can't carry every single game. And you think about what the AD carries are that they're going to play against, it's either going to be Meech or Stixay. Both those guys have also have really crushing victories in the late game in their own right. So that's something that I'm thinking about for 100 Thieves. I know they are as well, and it's something to be excited about going into tomorrow. Maybe it's not going to be a 3-0.
Maybe not. We'll have to see. We got a little bit of time before then. We're getting our Nets lobby set up for you guys, as after that series, drops are indeed out, and we're going to send it over to a short break. When we come back, we're going to have the showdown of Golden Guardians Academy taking on Immortals AOE. So do not touch that browser, as we will be right back.